A little bit.
Yep, this. How's that? Okay. So I'm gonna get us kicked off and talk a little bit about our agenda. The first thing I want to do is make sure that you are all comfortable as we get started. So a few housekeeping things to note. First of all, there's Wi-Fi information on each table. So use that as needed. Restrooms over here. Avail yourself to those whenever needed. And then we're gonna have lunch in about an hour. So we have some presentations coming up and then we'll break for lunch here soon. In addition to our leadership council meeting today, we also have our sub-regional convening partners here. And this is a particularly exciting opportunity. I've been really looking forward to this meeting to bring everybody together and to start to really blend work of the leadership council so far, quantitative data that you've already learned about, and community voice, and really starting to put these pieces together. Because this is kind of the magic of this program, being able to really blend these different channels of information and ensure that as we think about things like data and industry sectors, we're also hearing from community and keeping that very central in this project. So today's a really exciting opportunity to do that. I'm very grateful for this beautiful space. This is such a wonderful facility, and I think it's going to be comfortable for us all day, so I appreciate that. How's this microphone working? I feel like it's coming in and out. It's good? So very grateful for the facility, but also very grateful for the land that we are on as well. And I want to invite Maritessa Bravo up to do a land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Evan. Good morning. My name is Maritessa Bravo Arias, and I am with the We Prosper Together team at Valley Vision. I have the honor of leading our land acknowledgement this morning as we take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Maidu people. Today, there are 8 federally recognized Maidu tribes: the Berry Creek Rancheria, Enterprise Rancheria, Retail Rancheria, the Metro Indian tribe of Chica Rancheria, Moretown Rancheria, Shingle Springs Band of Miwok Indians, the Susanville Indian Rancheria, United Auburn Indian Community of Auburn Rancheria. There are also 7 tribes that are indigenous to this area that I'd like to recognize: the Honey Lake Maidu tribe, the Conno Valley Band of Maidu Indians, the Nisenan tribe of Nevada City, Strawberry Valley Rancheria, Millersville Rancheria, United Maidu Nation, and the Colfax Todd Valley Consolidated Tribe of Colfax. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. The building that we're in is the Maidu Community Center, and it was built in 1991, and it serves as an important link between past traditions and contemporary life, ensuring that the cultural legacy of the Maidu people continues. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over.
Okay, so our agenda today, what are we going to do today? So we're going to start with a little bit of a recap on Leadership Council activities and go through our needed action items here in just a couple minutes. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about our messaging for We Prosper Together. Big objective of this project is to create accessible communication points for us to be able to talk about inclusive economic development in our vision for the region. And so all of us building our capacity to do that is a really important piece of the work we're doing. And we'll break for lunch and enjoy continuing to get to know each other and socializing. And then we're going to spend pretty much the whole afternoon on our sub-regional presentation. So our sub-regional conveners are our funded partners as part of this project. They have been working for the last 8 months or so on doing community engagement, on doing locally based strategy building. If you're a sub-regional convener, raise your hand. Hey. These have been the critical partners in strategy building and really understanding what the issues are in our region, and I'm really looking forward to their presentations this afternoon. So that's really what's going to take our time. For most of the afternoon, we're going to have a little bit of time to process that information and talk about it together in breakout groups before we close for the day. One thing I will note, we have a pretty packed agenda with a lot of presenters. We're going to try to create as much space as possible for questions. And like I said, breakout groups so that you can talk through these things together. Also, as always, are really committed to following up, to answer any questions, doing one-on-ones afterwards if needed. But I'm going to encourage you to, when you can, really try to hold your questions till we open it up in between speakers so that we can get through our full agenda. Before moving into our communications presentation and our leadership council update, I want to spend just a minute on the context kind of where we've been, because I really want to keep it front of mind for you all, the flow of the work that we're doing together and how it all fits together, so that you can keep that in mind as we're going through the information for today. So where we started, as we first met in January, is really focusing on some of the research and data that have been collected by our partners at Cities GPS. And they provided us a really extensive economic analysis, helping us understand from a more quantitative perspective, although they also studied our plans and did interviews and things, but really helping us understand where we have challenges and opportunities in our regional marketplace. Part of that work was identifying industry sectors. And so they have pointed to 4 main tradable sectors where they have shown that we have opportunities. And we talked about that in April and in March, actually online. I think one of our team's takeaways is that we're not quite ready as a group to start to narrow down and eliminate any of those tradable sectors, but rather I think we as a team want to go deeper into the sector so we can understand some of the concrete opportunities that exist there and come back to you with that. And so that's been an important part of the work that we've done so far. You'll continue to hear about it, and we're going to give you kind of a deeper dive information as we get further down the line. And then next, where we are today. This is really a day focused on community voice. And like I said, this is a critically important part of this project to really center community voice and understand how the experiences of those in our region, particularly those who are been in underinvested communities and who have been historically excluded, how do we keep them centered in the process and also kind of look at the data that we have. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And then finally, as we move down the line, this is how we're building our strategy. It's taking into account our market conditions, opportunities, our challenges, the experiences of those in our communities, and starting to build strategy from that. So coming out of today, some of the steps that you're going to see in the next few months is, first of all, we're going to take the information that we hear today and start building what we're calling an inclusionary strategy list. And this is really looking at the issues that we need to tackle in order to reduce barriers to opportunity and barriers to people reaching high quality jobs. Next, we're going to be developing an equity framework. And what this means is, as we get into fall, we will be releasing an RFP. This project has $8 to $9 million to release in community funds in order to support capacity building for the priorities that are identified. So in order to effectively distribute those funds, we need to have an equity framework that really defines how we're going to meet our equity goals throughout those projects. Next, identifying industry sectors and clusters, which I already talked a little bit about, but as we move further in the summer, we need to start really thinking about how are we going to grow our industries in a way that creates high quality jobs and creates access into high quality jobs. And then finally, as we get closer to fall, we'll be actively designing the RFP project identification. So we're really looking at what projects are being advanced in the region and how do we formulate that request for proposals in order to provide those opportunities and support the projects that are coming through. So that brings us to today. That's a little bit of where we're going, and here's where we are today. Some of our meeting goals. First, we're going to prioritize community input to identify access to barriers, quality jobs in the region. So that is community voice and understanding what some of those barriers and opportunities are. Identify current quality jobs that are available today across the region, and that's going to come through in some of the presentations that you hear. And then finally, name industry cluster areas to explore within our tradable sectors. And that's also going to come through in the presentation. So we're really looking at where the work of our sub-regional partners is intersecting with some of this cluster work and access. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill Ray to talk a little bit about our group agreements and help facilitate a community building introduction.
Thank you, Evan, appreciate that. Okay. Use the mic, the one mic. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Really thankful to share the space with you all today. Before we continue to move forward in today's gathering, we just want to take a pause. We just revisit and for some of you introduce our group agreements to help us kind of move through our time together today. So our group agreements, the first is one mic. Literally, we have one mic, but ultimately what that means, one person is speaking, we'll do our best. In the room is a bit tricky, so we'll do our best, listen with all hearts, minds, and ears. Be open-minded to the contributions that we ourselves give in this shared space as well as others. Allow for authenticity, being our truest self in the shared space as we prosper together. The next agreement is show grace for growth, recognizing we all come into this shared space with different levels of wisdom, experience, and knowledge. And then last but not least, of course, is what's said here, or excuse me, what's learned here leaves here. And of course, that's the intentionality to help inform and shape our overall efforts as we prosper together going forward. So I'll pause here for just any clarification or questions on any of our group agreements we have presented here. I'll ask, is there anything missing from our group agreements before we continue to move forward? An agreement that you yourself may need to move forward in today's. And I'll look around the room if we can all commit to group agreements in today's gathering. I'll look for a thumbs up. We may have concern with one, but we're okay with moving forward. I'll look for a thumbs sideways, or if we need more time here, I'll look for a thumbs up, and that includes all of our team as well. Beautiful. Hey, thank you. So as we continue to move forward, we appreciate the opportunity to build community. And it is my responsibility to advance the side of my apologies. Here we go. We love to build community with each other, and we hope you do too as well. It's free. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to invite you to greet and meet with 3 individuals in this room. It will require you all to move about and adjust as needed. So here's the greet 3 before we get moving around. The first is to greet someone at your table. Introduce yourself, how you come into this space, your role, your title, and someone at your table that maybe you don't know or don't know too well. Okay. The next is someone who's not seated at your table. We invite you to then greet someone who's not currently seated at your table. And then the third is to greet someone who's wearing the same or similar color as you are. Okay, the same or similar color as you are. So are we excited and ready to build community with each other and greet? Okay, I can take the box together really well with that. So, okay, so let's greet. Greet. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Make sure you have an opportunity to breathe three. 1 minute left. All right, welcome back. Invite you to take a seat. Take a look off your feet. Take a seat. Take a load off your feet. Sit on down. Sit on down. We can absolutely hear and feel the community building in our shared space. We always like to say it's like music to our ears and to our hearts. Thank you all for taking time to get to know each other. We'll have continued opportunities to get to know each other better throughout the day, but I'm gonna take a step back and invite Kevin back to the space to introduce. I'm inviting Lisa to the space. Kind of guide us through the next few slides.
You know what, Belle was right. She was introducing me, because I want to introduce Isa, who's new to the team. So this is Isa Avansania. She is our new senior project manager. Really excited to bring her on. And now I will invite Isa up. The next page, thank you. Exactly. Hi, everybody. Good morning, almost afternoon. So good to meet you and be with you all here in person. I'm going to start by taking us through a couple of action items for our leadership council members before we move on to all the presentations throughout the slide. So our first action item, I'm going to take us through the approval for our April meeting minutes. These were sent to our leadership council members as part of their packet last Thursday, May 9th. We'll go ahead and do a vote. Leadership council members, show of hands, all those in favor of approving our April minutes. I'm going to ask you to keep those hands up for a minute, just so our note takers can. Thank you very much. Any leadership council members opposed to approving our April minutes? Seeing none, are there any abstentions? Hands a little higher, please, just to make sure we. Thank you very much. It looks like with one abstention, we have approved our April minutes. The second action item on our list, hopefully that's not going in and out too bad. The second action item on our list is voting on revised operating policies and procedures, including an updated conflict of interest section. These were also shared with our leadership council members, included in the packet that was sent out last Thursday, May 9th. Just as a reminder, these operating policies and procedures are ultimately in service of an inclusive and transparent process that enables our leadership council members to continue to make decisions together as we move through this process. And we also want to note always with these procedures, these are meant to evolve with our organization's needs and based on the feedback of our members. So we consider this a living document, and as we continue to work together, we're going to remain open to input and suggestions, and we will adapt these policies and procedures as necessary as we continue to move through this process. So with all that being said, we're going to take a vote on approving or operating policies and procedures, including the updated conflict of interest section. Move this over to this slide here. And with that, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Can I see hands up? All those in favor for approval, please raise your hand. And again, please raise them a little bit high and keep them up in case our note takers need to capture a count. Thank you very much. Leadership Council members, is anyone opposed to approving these policies and procedures? I don't think I see any hands and any abstention. Hands higher. No takers. Okay, thank you very much. It looks like with those votes, our Leadership Council has approved our operating policies and procedures. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to pass it back over to Schmidt to the fun stuff.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, so we're going to spend the next 30 minutes. Okay. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about the messaging for We Prosper Together. And I'm excited to spend this time on this because messaging is really important. So as you all know, for us to be successful in building an economy that works for everyone in the region, it's critical that we bring as many community members as possible around a shared vision. So this idea of creating accessible and aligned messaging is critical, really, to this program, which is why we're spending time talking. Messaging is a powerful tool that can help us communicate our shared vision and the value of We Prosper Together in a unified way. It also helps us cut through the noise to create a compelling narrative in a landscape that's filled with multiple voices and competing stories. And I think that this idea of having a shared vision and a shared narrative is incredibly beneficial to our region. My editorial comment is that our region doesn't always do great when we're looking for investments from the state of California, from our federal partners. And I think part of that reason is because we have not been very successful in articulating a shared vision. And so our ability to do that through this program and have so many leaders like you in the community championing this messaging, it's really important. So as members of the Leadership Council, you are all key messengers. As you engage with your audiences and beyond, we want to make sure that you feel prepared about We Prosper Together. Every communication, no matter who you're talking to or where, can be an opportunity for you to reinforce mission, goals, and values. And also a way to communicate how it aligns with your organization's or your community's goals and values. The core messaging will serve as the foundation for how we all collectively talk about We Prosper Together. While the time we have today to spend on messaging is short, Derek Jansen, who from Raleigh, who I'm going to invite up to the stage here soon, he's going to run through a few tips to help you confidently introduce We Prosper Together to your audience while using the messaging. Following this session, we will be providing more resources and opportunities for you to continue to keep evolving this message in the way that you're using it. So to start off, I want to give you all an example of how I might introduce the We Prosper Together initiative to someone I'm talking to. So the pressure is really on for me right now. Model a good elevator pitch, which is why I'm reading more than I usually do, because this is a presentation about messaging. It's important that I'm on message while I do this. Okay, so we're at a pivotal moment in time. As industries transform to meet the future, the impacts of climate change deepen, and evolving demographics create seismic shifts in our workforce and more. We have to ensure that our communities are not being left. This moment is an opportunity for us to shape an economy that meets our needs now and in the future to ensure that our economy works. With only 52% of our region's jobs offering community members the potential to achieve financial and economic independence, there is a need to close the gap and expand access to opportunities for families in the region. Historically, economic development work has not always included all communities. So we have the opportunity to change that. Now is the time to take a new community-driven approach to create inclusive economies for our region. Representing 8 counties in the capital region, over 150 organizations, and hundreds of community leaders and residents, We Prosper Together is a regional initiative that's bringing together the strengths and diversity of our region to create a stronger economy. Using California jobs first as a springboard, We Prosper Together is working towards a future where people can create the life they want, and solutions are led by the communities that are most impacted, and our economy is built to withstand the shifts and challenges of our future. To do this, building bridges between communities, encouraging investments to come into the region, and creating more local jobs. Everyone has a role that they can play in this work. Get involved with us and We Prosper Together. We can ensure that each and every person in our region prospers. It's elevator pitch. And I'm still practicing and learning too, but I do think that if we start to develop some of these key messages and think about how can I deliver this in a way that resonates with me, but also really communicates a common vision for this program. We'll all keep evolving and learning this together and getting more skilled and more natural in the way we talk about this really important regional initiative. So with that, Derek Jansen's going to come up and help provide all of us with some tips and tools and thoughts about how we tailor our message to different audiences and how we build our own message.
Hey, everybody. So a lot of what you just heard from Kevin is the scripted version of what it means to deliver a message. What we're trying to do here today is actually kind of break down the barriers of what it means to message. Being told that, there we go. Thank you. So one of the things about messaging is that there's a lot of different ways to deliver message, a lot of different ways to communicate. So we're going to talk about some messaging basics here to get us started. So this might be for anybody who's been on the challenge here. So we're going to go through what it takes to deliver a good message and also what it means for you as a messenger. And to be clear, all of you are messengers or We Prosper Together because of the roles that you're playing in this leadership council. So let's talk about some messaging 101. So messaging is a resource. A lot of what you just heard from Evan was very intentionally providing you with some very intentional lines about the ways that we're talking about We Prosper Together. But a lot of what we want you to do is actually really internalize what it is for you to be a part of We Prosper Together, to be a part of the California Jobs First initiative. And so really what we're talking about here is messaging being a short statement that communicates the most important needs and your values for your communities and the people that you represent. So one of the really important things to think about is yeah, it works better. I'm just going to hold it really close, and it's going to be in and out. So please bear with us. So one of the most important things to think about here is your audience. So who is your audience? Who are you talking to? What is it that they need to hear for them to really understand the importance of We Prosper Together for you and for your community? What do you want them to know? How do you want them to engage with We Prosper Together to work here? Again, messaging is intended to be a resource. It's flexible, and this is something that, despite the fact that we were so scripted in what Kevin just shared a moment ago, a lot of the goal here is for you to really internalize, think about messaging in terms of what you're trying to communicate. And then finally, when you are sharing messaging, you want to present no more than 3 to 4 key messages at a time. Basically, the simpler about it, the more clear that you can be in terms of what it is that you want people to engage in, what you want them to walk away from the conversation with them knowing about. And then finally, I'll get this in a moment as well, but a lot of it's also the call to action. You always want to be thinking about what it is that you're asking folks to do, to engage in, and to believe about the work that you're doing. And the reason for that is that messaging can move people. So I know that hopefully everybody read through all of the pre-reading that we provided. If you didn't, it's okay. You can read it later. We also have another leave behind that we'll be sharing with you after this meeting, so you can have a cheat sheet on how to talk about and how to think about messaging before we process it together. So one of the goals today is to help you understand that with practice, that you'll be able to use this messaging to connect with audiences by doing the following. So first of all, you want to meet audiences where they, so where are people coming to this conversation? They have an idea about what it means to even talk about it. They have an idea of what it means to be inclusive in development. Knowing who you're talking to and knowing what it is that they're talking about this conversation is really critical. You are the best expert at knowing that for your audiences. Second, we want to shift from technical terms. We want to get out of the jargon and really talk about this. So what are the things that are going to move people? It's values. What are the things that people are going to feel resonant when you finish your conversation with them? It is the values that you share with them. And then finally, we want to use storytelling, context, and data that we do share. We've got a lot of data for this for we process polling, we have all sorts of economic research, but how can we tell a story that makes people really feel like this we profit together is going to be something that will change their lives and change their communities, and that's going to come together through stories. So I mentioned this before, but you are the messenger. So how you message is really important, but also the messenger, it doesn't mean that you're going to change who you are. Actually, it's the opposite. You want to be incredibly authentic. So how do you make sure that you are being authentic? It's making it yours. So it's really easy to write down a bunch of talking points and just read those out verbatim. But the goal here is for you to really understand what matters to you about We Prosper Together, what matters to your community. And that's how you really make sure that the authenticity of your experience and your community is coming. So share your own story, and that'll help bring your engagement with We Prosper Together. Second, you want to adapt to your own context. So when you adapt messaging and you actually communicate based on who you're speaking to, you're speaking to people, the forum that you're in, it'll make it a lot easier for people to understand and know what you care about. And that's another part of being a good messenger is actually making sure that your values, your why it's important to you really comes through. And then finally, this can be a is don't make assumptions about your audience. There's a lot of different people in this room right now. There's gonna be a lot of people in the rooms that you are engaging with. And so take the time to understand where people are coming. Think about it when you get there. What are the people here going to be caring about? Are these folks are going to be caring more about, is it something about their business environment? Is it something about their ability to some of the data points we have talked about some of the challenges of raising a family in the region? What are the things that people you're talking to? What are the things that they're thinking about coming into the room? So here's another helpful resource for you, and we will share this after this presentation as well. So this is just a cheat sheet. So first of all, you want to know your message. So like I mentioned before, we shared all of the messages ahead of time. Make sure to read those. It doesn't mean you have to memorize them and repeat them back exactly as they're written, but it does mean that you want to make sure that you are thinking about what it is that We Prosper Together is about for you. So you don't want to just wing it. You also want to make sure that it's coming through in your own voice. You want to practice from here. If you're in a position where you're going to go and present to a group of people, go ahead and practice. If you're going to go have a conversation with a reporter, think about the words that you're going to say to share what it is that makes We Prosper Together important for you and for your community. I already mentioned knowing your audience. So I'll just reiterate, what are the values? And then finally, within that, how many messages be that important? So some folks have different levels of knowledge about what it means to engage in economic development. They might not know what inclusive development means. So how can you make sure that you share what that inclusiveness means for you and your when you're talking to this group of folks? Knowing your facts, always tell the truth. It's really easy to wing it. To say like, well, I think this is probably true. But make sure that you know. If you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will get back to you. Anticipate the tough questions in terms of knowing your vulnerabilities. So there might be some questions. You might not know the answer to it, and that's okay. But try to think about what are the things that you want to make sure that you get across that are that's going to make people feel more comfortable with the engagement you're asking them to. This gets back to that CTA. At the end of this, we're trying to build a broader coalition, and so if folks don't feel like you're being great, they feel like they're not sure what it is asking of them, that's a vulnerability. You want to make sure that you're addressing. You also want to know the tone. So what's the tone? Are you going to be out there saying, this is the absolute most important thing that we have to do right now? And if somebody's dealing with something else in their life, in their own community, that might be. So then you want to talk about, so urgency versus softness. It's an interesting way. I mean, the setting that you're going to be having your conversations. Finally, to that urgency versus softness, and you do want to see. So it's really easy to start talking about like the negative pieces, things that haven't gone well in the past. So what we're going to do about they did it wrong before. We want to talk about is that we're doing better, so that people can feel like there is an optimism, that there's a lot of hope for the future of what we can do together when we come together with those 150 organizations and people throughout the state and region. It's really important to get people reason to want to say, yes, I want to be a part of this. And so that tone really comes through in how you want to present, you want to engage the folks that you're doing. So I'm making this a little more fun now. Talk about some messaging in action. So we did send out some content last week for you to take a look at. If you didn't have a chance to look at it, that's totally fine. We can make this pretty easy to do. But that messaging that we sent out. So what that means is that it's going to give you the ability to connect with people using pre-written, pre-existing content. You can adapt your situation to your own context, to your own. So when you're introducing someone to WeProsper, you don't have to use every single one of those messages that we sent out. It was a lot of content. I know there was a lot. You didn't memorize it. If you did, we should talk. It's amazing. That's a whole other conversation. But you get to pick and choose. You get to use the content that works for you, that works for your needs. So what we're going to do today is show how you put messaging into the settings that you're actually going to have a conversation with folks. So Evan did a really great job of demonstrating what an elevator pitch looks like. We're going to just take a minute. I'm not going to make you write an entire elevator pitch right now. That we really need. I'm not going to do that to you guys. However, what I do want to ask you to do is to think about the elements of an elevator pitch. So here we have shared values, we have the need, we have our vision and role, we have a call to action. I mentioned call to action 2 different times for a good reason, which is that this is all about getting people to take action and be a part of this together. So why do we start with the shared value? It allows us to start from a place of shared understanding. So if somebody's going to buy into something, they have to feel like this is something that's important for them. And obviously values and shared understanding is a great place for that to begin. Underneath, so I mentioned the whole distinction between optimism and urgency. There's always going to be some amount of urgency. There's always going to be a need. And that's where we want to make that second point to be why is this important? It's important to you. Why is this important to our community? And then vision and role. So where does WeProsper men to give people something to work with? How do we make sure that people are able to see that we prosper together and get them closer to the vision that we've established for the first 1 year? And of course, the call to action is what are we calling? So are they going to join a collaborative? Are they going to a meeting? Are they going to share their ideas? Are they going to invite somebody else to be part of this? Within that context of knowing your own things, you want to know what it is that you're asking folks to do. It's great to go say, we have this really cool, and be a part of it. But what does that mean? Is it that there's a meeting on Tuesday from now? Is it follow us on social media? That's an easy one. You should always ask. In fact, anybody here is not following on social media, you should do that. Thank you. But please do share our content from WeProsper your channels, because that actually is also about building your voice on podcasts. So I'm going to share an elevator pitch. One of the things I want to make very clear here is that I've been talking around this. That's a different perspective in this room. The first one that I'm going to share here is, what is your business focus? There's a lot of different perspectives. We're going to love range on this first. But if you're business focused, then you're gonna be talking mostly to business people and people who are concerned about the business climate, growth direct. So here's an example where we're using the shared values, the need, vision, and role, and call to action. So the very first piece here, our region's industries and businesses serve as the bedrock for our creating opportunities and community members to grow, thrive, and build the life that they want. So those are our shared values. These are things that we can all want for each other, that we can all want for our communities, especially when you're looking at this from a business perspective. So what is the need? It's the second piece. But as the changing workforce, climate change, innovation, and more forces our region's economy and industries to adapt, we must ensure that our communities are not being left behind. So that's our need to bring people along with us as our economy grows, make sure it's an inclusive role. So vision, by creating more living wage jobs, by leaning into the emerging green economy, where we're going to project 383,000 additional green jobs created by 2027 in California. Our region's workforce will continue to grow and thrive. So we're setting the vision, telling people where we go and our region. Representing 8 counties in the capital region, we cross together as a community-driven region initiative, is amplifying the strengths of our region to create a more sustainable, stronger works for all of us. By doing so, we are encouraging investment in our region, putting into action innovative local solutions that create more jobs. So this is all visionary, aspirational language, and so hopefully, in sharing this and thinking about this from the business perspective, we're giving people a sense where they can fit into the economy, where business people fit in the economy, and what our shared goals are together. So then we have our call to action. So talking to somebody who's going to be a local business owner, we're asking them is, let your voice be heard. We build a foundation for an economy where each and every one of us, and what that may be for you in your particular case is, come down to the next meeting, follow us on social media, be a part of the next conversations, that your voice is heard, and that you can be a part of helping build this vision. I feel like I've been talking for a little while now. We're gonna keep going just a little bit longer. We're almost done. So the next one here is climate focus. We all know that the effects of climate change are vast. They're very different in different parts of the state, different parts of our region, different parts of our economy, different parts of our lives. So here's a pitch that is really focused on how climate change might exist for somebody a little more family. So every family in our region deserves the opportunity to live healthy, vibrant. As climate change creates impacts that range from poor air quality to declining crop yields to water pollution to extreme heat days, our communities, particularly communities that have been historically invested in. So back to the shared values need. Shared values is the first one, need is the second one. Health and future of both of our communities and economy on depends on how we can adapt to meet the moment. So this is the need we have to address. It's affecting all of us, affecting our communities, families, it is affecting us. So our role and vision is the third. We prosper together is taking on a new approach, all our communities into a sustainable, healthier future where we can all accelerate the solutions our community members are already leading. So this is an important one. Our community members are already part of this conversation. They're already leading this conversation. And a lot of what we prosper is doing is saying we're connecting our vision and you together so that we are actually building something stronger by being here collectively in the space. By leading into the emerging green economy and uplifting community-driven projects that build resilience in our economy, creating good paying green jobs and more, we can make our region a better place to live, work. So again, getting back to the quality of life, there's so many of us need in this region. So then finally, call to action, right? The opportunity to seize this moment to shape a resilient economy that stands the test of time. Join us. Come to the meeting, also on social media. So you now have 3 examples of elevator pitches. My microphone is really crazy. You have 3 examples of elevator pitches. So we want to ask you to practice. Like I said, I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be trying to create an elevator pitch. But thinking about shared values, need, vision, role, call to action. One of the things I emphasized earlier is that messaging is not you memorize it and you say it over and over and over again. So what I want to ask you to do is spend just 3 minutes and just think about one of these things. What is the one thing that you would identify for you, for your community, for the people that you talk to when it comes to property, when it comes to your day job, your day job? What is something that resonates for you under the shared value? What is the shared value between when we prosper together, the people that you're trying to engage in your? What is the need? What are the needs of the community that you represent? What is the vision and role? What is your role? What is the role of the people who you're connecting with that you want to bring into this community? And what is the call to action? What's the one thing that you need most? So I'm gonna ask everybody to take just a minute. You have a notepad in your folders. You have your own notepad, just write down for each, not for each one of these, just for one of them. Pick the one that resonates the most with you, maybe it's scared of, or the one that you're most excited about. And then I'm gonna close the share. I'm not gonna call on anybody. If I would like to share, what's the one thing along these 4 categories of things that we prosper together resonates, really makes sense, something that you want to make sure that your audiences really feel when you're presenting. Ready, set, go. I can't get to 10. We might have working mic. We do. We're about a minute in, so keep going. We'll come back. After the share out there.
Yes.
All right. Your voice is starting to pick up. So let's, who wants to volunteer to share let's start with, I'll start with the first one. So shared values. Does anybody have a shared value that they would like to share with the room, something that they want to make sure their audiences hear very clearly when they're talking to the importance we prosper together and this work together? All right, great. Perfect.
Yeah. I've written that. Promote and attract economic development to raise lifestyle and success of all residents. And I'm talking about in the US.
So that was perfect because it represents, I'm sorry, I'm hearing you. Paul. It represents Paul's perspective, represents the communities that she engages. Does anybody else have something they want to share? Let's move on to, well, I'm not going to make you stick to any one of them. We can go to the need, we can go to call to action. We also have something to share. See one.
Text and this is more role and vision. We Prosper Together is committed to providing guidance and resources to create local, high-paying employment to residents while assisting the development of equitable growth prospects, stronger local economy. We provide increased tax base and increasing the local economy by creating climate resilient opportunities. Now is the time to join us in developing a strong local community. Follow us on social media, send us your comments, and engage with the program by letting us know your interests and concerns.
We have a nice student right here. What do you think? Excellent, pretty much.
Yes. Just have a question. So I struggle with it a bit because I see the optimism in it, but I have to reflect the questions I think I will get from my community. The acknowledgement of the bullet point here that in the past, certain communities haven't always been historically included in the table, and $7-8 million can do a lot, but to say with authenticity that this is going to change your future forever is not something I feel comfortable ever saying. And so I'm curious how, if you could give us some talking points or on how to be real about people that they will have to be included if we are grounded in equity.
Thank you so much for asking that. Really awesome. I think honestly what you said is spot on, right? You're acknowledging the reality that this is not enough, right? This is the beginning. I think that's really where you want to center your talking points from this. So if somebody asks that question, it's that this is about, this is not about this year. This is not about just a one-time flash in the pan thing, and that's what makes this different. The goal here, the intent here is for together to leverage the California Jobs First funds as a springboard into greater economic and greater inclusive economic development for the state and region. And then additionally, this is also unique because we are an economic region. We are all coming together to actually focus on the exactly what you're talking about. Just that this is not a one-time thing. This is not something that's going to be solved with a short-term investment. It's something that when you get involved in this, we can ensure that it becomes a long-term investment that is going to change our communities and change lives of people who live here. So I think to be a little more blunt about it, it's an opportunity to call somebody in, say, come be a part of this. This isn't just a one-time thing. I mean, come be a part of this so that your voice is heard, so that we can actually make the bigger differences, the bigger changes that are required for our community right here and for our regions. So I mean, I really appreciate also that you saw the messaging that it is important to acknowledge. I made the point, to your point, I made the point that we want to be optimistic, but then we also have to acknowledge in the messaging you saw, we have to acknowledge that it hasn't always been great. And that's what makes this different. That we are making sure that you have a voice in this so that it is different this time. Okay. And I also want to reiterate, you have to say it over and over and over again, and then you have to actually follow up and deliver. Because this is a new program. So it is incumbent on all of us to actually deliver on the promise, or then it is just I'll turn to make sure that we do all deliver on that promise, but that is what we're here for.
Question. Do we have to say the what and the how?
Not necessarily. So in the question too, in the messaging that we shared ahead of time, we have the what, there's a ton of messaging. right? The reason we broke it down into this category here is because this is something that you can always, or you hopefully know, is what are your values? What is the need for your community? What is your vision, your role within your community? And then what is your call to action? All of the messaging can fit into this structure in a way that makes sense for your audience, for the context in which that you're speaking to folks. So when you do look at that messaging that we sent at the time, the goal here, part of what I'm hoping to get across to you today is do not feel constrained. Take the parts that make sense. Take the parts that resonate with you and for your community so that what you're sharing is actually that authentic piece of you as the messenger, right? That's the really important part of what we're trying to get across today, is that you are the messenger trying to deliver an invitation to people to be involved in this that otherwise they might not normally be inclusive economic development. If somebody needs to hear more of the what, hear more of the how, then you are the best expert to deliver that message. We're a bit over time, so I don't want to take up too much more time, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I think we're going to go to lunch, so please find me. Thank you all for here today.
Thanks, Darren. I really appreciate the conversation with the audience too, or with you all too, and that authenticity piece between being aspirational and over-promising or not being real about what the circumstances are. And I think part of the value in setting a vision is about catalyzing other types of activities and really thinking about what we're shooting for long term. So this program certainly won't do it alone, but we all think through these concepts, think about how it applies to our own work and be good ambassadors for this concept behind inclusive economic development. I think that's one way of starting down that path and building it. So appreciate the presentation. Thanks so much. I'm excited to be an effective ambassador of the program. And it's lunchtime. So I just, in the last 2 minutes, I was going to play with the idea of a key message around lunch. So here we go. I believe lunch is important. People get hungry, and around the noon hour, they need to eat. I have a vision that by the end of the lunch period, people will be full, and they will have been offered a variety of different types of sandwiches, including inclusive of a variety of dietary needs. So together, I believe we can get lunch and eat it and fulfill our goal. So that's my hope. And the information that you need, the how and the when is now. The sandwiches are back on the back table. You can eat out on the patio or here in the room. There are accommodations for different dietary needs. So if you have one, then please kind of promptly go back there and make sure you can get what you need. Also drinks on the side. And we are going to come back together at 1:15. So we're a little over time, and if you still are eating as we get our meeting started, that's okay. But please enjoy lunch. I encourage you to meet someone that you don't know too well. We'll see you back at 1:15. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Let's get started. All right, about 45 minutes ago, we set a vision to eat lunch and get full lunch. And I hope that's been achieved. It has been for me. And I hope it also is bringing some energy because we have an exciting afternoon in front of us. I'm really excited for the program that's coming up. So we have some of our state partners here in the room with us, including Miriam Zazunas from GoBiz. Thank you for being here, Miriam. She's been a great program manager for us, and very accessible and helpful. We also have Jesus Salazar, who's a senior program analyst at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research. Jesus has, both him and Jesus have been incredible champions for us, really accessible for us as we go through this California Jobs First program, and also really steadfast champions of the values of this program. So we have appreciated so much their work with us and the partnership that we have to build this program. So I'm going to invite Jesus up to say a few words.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. I need more energy in the room. Thank you so much for being here today and allowing me to say a few words. My name is Jesus Salazar. I'm a senior projects analyst on the California Jobs First team. I was part of the team that helped write the program, so you can either thank me or we can have some sub conversations. But, you know, I am kind of excited to see the diversity of the. And, you know, I myself come from a disadvantaged community. I grew up in Documented. My father was a farm worker growing up, and my mother was a janitor growing up. And I know firsthand what it's like not to have access to opportunities. And which is why this program is personal. As I'm sure this program is personal to you all too. And I want to emphasize the importance of this program. We are really trying to create a new inclusive economy for your region that's based on decision-making, shared decision-making with you all, and truly implementing what inclusive economic development means with an equity lens. I also want to give a quick update on what does the landscape look like across regions. Regions tend to measure themselves, how are we doing compared to other regions? And let me tell you, you all are very much a leader across California. Your partners are looking at you at what you're implementing, what you're doing. As I'm sure you all are also looking, to your left and to your right, and trying to learn from one another. Currently, folks are working hard on developing a process catalyst. It's no easy task to make sure that these investments go to the right communities. Developing a scoring process is not as easy as raising your hand and voting. You need to create criteria that's going to filter out projects. You want to make sure that, again, investments are going to the right communities through this all. Folks are also working hard on developing the regional plan part 2, their strategy development. This is not a check off the box kind of program. This is, you're really here for the long-term vision. Like many of you have talked about earlier today, we need to be honest. We need to have some real, what you all are working on here today isn't going to transform your region tomorrow. It might not even happen in a year. It might not even happen in 5 years. So we need to make sure that we are setting the foundation for others to continue the work afterwards. I'm also really excited to see that in today's agenda, it's really centered around community. And this is what makes this program, this initiative so different. That it's centered on community, that it's centered on equity, and that is really what's going to transform your region to make sure that all of our communities have access to equal opportunity. I also want to, just take a moment that it's taken a really long time just to get here. Take a moment to look at your partner next to you, and look at non-traditional partners are coming together to work a vision. No, we haven't had labor, business, and philanthropy and education come together in this way. So the fact that you are here today as decision makers is a huge deal. And I want to thank you for your leadership on this. And now, sure, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We just learned about the a rebuy. And yes, it has budget implications on this program. The way that it's proposed is that there's gonna be a $50 million impact every budget cycle with a total of $150 million. But I also want to remind you that this is a proposal. It's not final until the governor signs it. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Now some good news. Catalyst dollars are, congratulate you on retaining and your catalyst. Now that you have your catalyst dollars, you should be moving full steam ahead. The goals of this program are still the same. We knew from the very beginning that the funding that we currently have wasn't going to get us to the finish line. I'm glad someone mentioned the realness part of it. The funding that we currently have was not going to completely transform our region, but it's a good start. It's a good start to build the capacity of our communities. And it's a good start to build that social infrastructure so that we can continue to attract additional funds. Earlier today, you guys had a training on how to be ambassadors for this program. That is exactly what you should all be thinking about. We need to make sure that we are having our whys ready to go, continue to attract additional partners and additional funds to this program so we can sustain these efforts. I also want to remind you all that we have designed this program so that you all become competitive for federal dollars. And that is going to be extremely important as we move forward. We need to make sure that we are looking for those federal dollars, attracting those dollars. My question to you all will be, what kind of support do you all need from the state to make sure that actually? The last point I want to make here is around partnerships. Partnerships have been extremely important from the very beginning of this program, and they're going to be extremely important as we move on. There are 3 types of partnerships in my book that are going to be really important. First one is our public partnership. We need to make sure that we are partnering with our CBOs to continue to attract dollars because they are qualifiers. But we're also want to make sure that we're not overburdening our CBOs. We want to make sure we're building the capacity of our leaders. We're also making sure that we are talking to our city and county to make sure that we are well aligned and integrated, because who knows, we might be able to tap into some funding pots. The other partnership that's really important is our partnership with the private sector. The private sector has a lot to gain from this initiative. We have to think about what is their responsibility in this process. How can we become partners in this development of this new economy? What is their responsibility? The last partnership here that I think I want to point out is really important is our philanthropic partnership. We knew from the very beginning that philanthropy was more flexible and be able to fill gaps where we weren't able to do it, or we weren't doing it fast enough. So these partnerships for me are going to be extremely important as we move on. I want to close by again reiterating the importance that your decision will have on this region. The decisions you make today will have generational impact for years to come. The state is also very real about being a partner with you all. We don't have all the answers. We've made mistakes. We probably will make more mistakes. but it's important to be honest and own up to our mistakes and learn how we can be better. So from the entire California Jobs First team, I just want to thank you all for being here today. I cover 7 regions of the state, from the Central Valley all the way up to the North State. Happy to see my Eastern Sierra folks here. And again, thank you all so much for being here today. Happy to have conversations offline.
Thanks so much. It's been really grateful to have our state and to hear from you, and also appreciate the update on the state budget, because there's a lot of significant things going on within that budget. And I want to point out, when it comes to California Jobs First, even if there are cuts in the implementation component of this project, this is still a historic investment in our region's capacity to build inclusive economies. So we're gonna make the most out of whatever's coming our way, and we're gonna really take advantage of this really significant investment that has been made for us. So for us, like Jesus said, the Catalyst Fund, which is our phase 2, it's our $14 million capacity building project. It's signed, so it's on for this region. That's still coming, which is really exciting. And the way I see the Catalyst Fund is as just that, it's a catalyst. Right? This is almost like the state of California's seed capital for us to build our vision for inclusive economy in the region. And so we really have this 2-year runway to build our program and to really consider how we're drawing from diverse funding to support the projects, the vision behind it, and how we are building a sustainable governance and initiative for our region to keep doing this work. So in my view, we have everything we need to be successful, and there's only space for us to build and grow and improve as a result of this project. We're really great. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm excited to get to really the meat of today's meeting, and that is our sub-regional hubs, and hearing from their engagement with the community and learning more about all the work that's been done over the last number of months. So I'm going to introduce Richard Dana from Community Strong Strategies to kick that off.
It's tag team as well. So yeah, I'm super excited about this part of the day. As leadership council members, you have been listening and hearing and getting a lot of really great research data. We have flooded you with it. It's really important. Our sub-regional partners have also been getting that information and have been doing outreach, conversation, meetings, convening, collecting the community's feedback on how this can work, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, what's coming back through them, and they're gonna be able to provide you with great information today that helps to capture what the community's voice is, based on the data, the goals, and hopefully be able to move us collectively on some of our really important ventures, which include if you all remember, let me just say, there should be a resource tool for you. If you don't have one, let us know. We walk around, put them on all the tables. Awesome. Please use this tool throughout the presentations. There are 5 of them. So we'll encourage you to let the presentations go through. If you have questions, like Evan said earlier, we will try to make some time, but also the sub-regional hubs will be around afterwards, so you'll be able to talk during breakout conversations also. And we'll create a model if we need to on how to allow for additional questions, comments, maybe through connection with Valley Vision. We can forward them over. We can make sure we get to you guys. Any comments, thoughts, everything, we can get that into our sub-region hubs. We have in here multiple items that are important for you to use during the conversations that you're hearing and during the presentations. So on your front page, you'll see that there is a vision statement. That's your vision statement. That's your North Star. You all created that. And from that, we've actually teased out 3 of your important areas that are your action areas based on your North Star. So access, more traditionally underserved community members into high quality jobs. Creation, which is creation of quality jobs. And climate, building out all of our sustainable environment. Within that, please keep those frameworks in mind when you're thinking about what you're hearing from the subregion hubs today. And I'm going to pass it over to Belle to walk through the remaining part of the tool for you.
Thanks, Richard. So again, you have this with you for our leadership council members, but also our sub-regional hub partners. This will help us kind of capture our thoughts, our comments, questions that we'll use later on in today's gathering as part of our table group discussion. But the tool, as Richard noted, uplifts, you'll see in the, there's, I think, just a couple of pages, what we'll hear, see, and feel, and collectively experience from our sub-regional hub presentations are an uplifting of inclusionary strategies, immediate pathways, meaning where current quality jobs available to people right now, opportunities for quality jobs, and industry plus areas. So again, we invite our leadership council members as well as our sub-regional hubs, because what we know is important that we explore opportunities to work collaboratively across the sub-regions and overall collectively region-wide. So this is your space to capture notes. And again, when we go into group breakout discussions, we'll use these notes collectively to identify kind of key takeaways that will help inform our planning moving forward. Anything I missed? Oh, one more thing. Yeah. The other handout that you all received, and thank you, Carly and Christina, for sharing these, is just a one-pager summary. And this is information, again, that will be uplifted as part of the regional hubs. But if you did not receive this copy, you'll see it in the presentations. But and also, we have additional copies at our front tables. We can make sure that each of you have those as well.
Yeah. All right, so when you go to your breakout groups again, this exact form will be on the table. So use this as your start point for conversations and for your breakout when we get there. All right. Our region hubs get the floor for the next 5 presentations. They have put a tremendous amount of work into it. I think you're going to see a lot of their own sub-region flavor come out in the presentations themselves. I'm excited to introduce Toulouse to start the round. Lauren, come on up. And you get a mic. Yeah, this is your clicker. Yeah.
We're so excited for the presentation. I'm like, now we just a little bit more.
All right. Pretty excited for the opportunity to share more about Toulouse County and the impact that we prosper together may have. I'll see how I can manage double fisting over here. You'll hear a lot today about disadvantage. Toulouse County is unique in that the entire county represents one large disadvantaged community. The county is a rural agricultural area. It's just far enough from Sacramento and the Bay Area, just small enough population. And it doesn't attract large employers, regional projects. Toulouse County is a rural agricultural community that is geographically dispersed. The county is experiencing significant challenges of lack of housing, internet connectivity, and is often the highest unemployment rate in the state due to the seasonality of employment associated with being an agricultural community and economy. There is a strong commitment to the economic development of the county to remove infrastructure barriers, bring innovation into the area. Large investments in infrastructure are needed to support innovation and partnership to create opportunities and equity for this community. We were told to bring an artifact that represents our region. We have a duck, have rice here. Several million ducks and geese fly through Colusa County each year. And more than 1 million spend the winter on 3 national wildlife refuges in the county, or on the Sacramento River, which makes up the border of the county's east side. These ducks are attracted by 2 of Colusa County's most abundant resources, water and rice. Water is also what keeps our people employed. More than 1/3 of jobs in Colusa County are ag jobs. Without water, there is no agriculture. Our top agricultural commodities are rice, almonds, tomatoes, walnuts, and cattle. Colusa County is the leading producer of rice in California. But as we learned during the drought, when many rice fields could not be planted, it can be disastrous when so much of our county's economy relies on one sector. The area is still recovering. For example, in 2021 alone, there was $100 million loss of value of rice production compared to the previous year. There's something else troubling about being so reliant on ag jobs. For so many of our workers, their jobs end when the fields are harvested in the fall. They are often unemployed for long stretches until the spring planting season. This does also represent inequity in our county. As you might have guessed, not a real duck. It's a duck decoy, which are used by hunters. Colusa is world renowned for its duck hunting, and it is a wealthy person sport. There are duck hunting clubs in our area that cost $1 million just to join. And yet our county's per capita income is dreadfully low, and our unemployment rate is annually one of the worst in the state. In March, it was the worst at 19.2%. You'll hear more about these economic and employment inequities in the following slide. Here's our team. My name is Lauren Wong. I'm with Tri-County Community Action Partnership. I work primarily in the health field, managing direct services and facilitating collaborative work on health-related issues. Who is not included, or today is Doug Roberto Bobadilla. He's our analyst and our translator. Many of the people in the county are monolingual Spanish speakers. David Spar with 40 years of experience in rural and urban economic development. Jody Siemens with her 40 years of youth and community development. And our lead team at North County Community Foundation, we have David Little, our project lead, and Carson Bradley. Big shout out to all of our team. You're gonna see most of them. And this is the representation of our community engagement. We leverage the community health assessment data and feedback from community partners that identify key priorities that not only address health disparities, but also unveil economic development opportunities, ensuring that our strategies are aligned with the needs and strengths of our community to promote sustainable growth and prosperity. So the data and issues identified mirror the challenges, barriers identified by the data gathered by the Brookings Institute and our community engagement. This is an example of one of our many 6 meetings that we have. Understanding the geographical disbursement of the county and the unique characteristics of each community in Colusa County, we held the 6 community health meetings, community engagement meetings, across the county to gather perspectives of residents, business owners, and entrepreneurs and economic challenges, opportunities, and what high quality jobs. We invited a cross section of representatives from the community engagement meeting, and from key industries across the county to participate in our steering committee, where we focused on information sharing and identifying priorities, challenges, and opportunities within the county. Our economic development consultants conducted dozens of one-on-one meetings with representatives of biomass plant, rice processing, farming, manufacturing, transportation, infrastructure, education, and workforce. Site tours were conducted, including each and every industrial park, public utility district, high schools, farm shows, ranches, and workforce centers. We had a huge diverse representation from our community partners that include tribal leaders in agriculture health organizations, job development, education, partners, and community-based organizations. What we learned, this slide really represents an overview of our key learning and findings through our work. Local serving job opportunities centers around the biomass industries and ag, utilize ag byproducts such as almond hulls and rice straw. Outside of agriculture, few jobs exist for youth and others making a living. There's not even a lot of part-time work available. All projects need help due to lack. Recreation and tourism may be a way to bring partners quickly into the county. With regard to potential industry-aligned projects, aside from just growing food, Palouse is ripe for investment. Food manufacturing, value-added ag, and ag tech. As for barriers and challenges, disinvested areas struggle to attract businesses and secure funding for essential services. The result is a spiral of economic decline, specifically around infrastructure, job training, and apprentice programs are needed. Among the barriers and challenges we discovered, infrastructure deficiencies include inadequate transportation, limited internet connectivity, and outdated infrastructure, hindering economic development and job creation. Infrastructure also determines whether rural communities are able to build housing, space for businesses, or needed construction. As for lack of investment, disinvested areas struggle to attract businesses and secure funding for essential services, perpetuating the cycle of economic decline. On the subject of workforce development, limited access to job training and education exacerbates unemployment and hampers the development of a skilled workforce. There's one location within Palouse County for workforce development. In the area of healthcare and social services, residents grapple with insufficient healthcare services, childcare options, and basic necessities, impacting overall well-being and economic mobility. In the area of local serving jobs, Palouse can rely on its strength: agriculture and natural resources. Farm equipment and ag products are a major industry. The site's reservoir is ready for construction and will have impacts. Housing will be needed for hundreds of workers on the project, and the lake could attract tourism and recreation when needed. The area already attracts duck hunters, anglers, campers, off-road vehicles, and brings in large crowds for the annual Stony Bird Rodeo. As for tradable job opportunities, agriculture again plays a vital role. Agriculture such as food manufacturing and processing could be enhanced. Ag technology and AI innovations could be utilized throughout the region. And the county's farm equipment and ag allied industries such as Case, Caterpillar, Ferguson, and Kubota dealers provide equipment, sales, and repairs for a multi-county area. So for potential industry-aligned projects, the region is home to a well-established food and agriculture that encompasses virtually every aspect of food production. Processing and manufacturing, packaging, distribution, and wholesale and retail sales. This was confirmed by the Brookings Institute data that was provided through Valley Vision. The emergence of 3 proposed biomass projects have the potential to use agricultural byproducts to produce electricity. Hydrogen fuel and carbon char products are advancing rapidly and creating new partnerships with UC Davis and Chico State. Advancements in ag tech and developing training programs to support innovation. Access to training programs are vital. With that comes the necessity to address the challenges of transportation, childcare, internet connectivity, and even the location of programs throughout the county. The community is eager to collaborate to create public-private partnerships that address many barriers. Based on what we've heard and learned, we'd like to present some potential inclusionary pathway strategies that would be helpful, necessary, and most importantly, embraced. There's a severe lack of housing of all types in Volusia County, both to rent and to buy. But there are places, particularly infill lots and accessory dwelling units where homes already exist. Oftentimes, frequently a barrier. Pre-approval floor plan library would eliminate 2 barriers, making home building cheaper and faster. Comprehensive community center in the South County would address barriers to internet access, job training, childcare, and access to supportive services. Both One Stop Employment Center and high school vocational programs are eager to offer pathways to different types of jobs rather than just ag jobs. But funding for such programs is needed. Second, we learned that resources for residents are available, but there's not an easy way to connect residents with those resources. There is no single source of news. The main form of communication is word of mouth or hanging up physical flyers at gathering places like post offices, churches. To connect people with resources, it would be beneficial to bring 211 services to Volusia County that would be available by phone, text, web, and in Spanish and English. We often heard that the internet is unreliable and expensive, but it's essential, particularly when it's convenient or even impossible to drive to the district center just to fill out necessary forms or participate in growing telehealth. Lastly, some of the lack of infrastructure makes it impossible for some areas to grow. Aging, crumbling water or sewage systems in places like Arbuckle and Max have led to a moratorium. I think I jumped ahead. I was ready. I'm watching my timer over here go. I'm going. So we've heard from residents and businesses in the community about the need for investment. It's unrealistic to spend considerable time making new employers move into the county and bring high quality jobs when so many people first need housing. They need fresh and affordable food, medical care, transportation, reliable internet, childcare, and jobs that don't end as soon as the crops have been harvested in the fall. Worse yet, there's not a level playing field for all residents, particularly for the Spanish-speaking residents. The housing market is so tight that rentals are often filled by word of mouth without advertising. Jobs are filled the same way. So if you're not in the loop, you're at a substantial disadvantage. Working with our steering committee and community partners, we have identified several different potential projects that can improve housing stock, narrow the digital divide, create workforce training, opportunities and repair work and social safety net. Volusia County is eager for investment and deserves. You can make that happen by helping Volusia develop a strong foundation and attract quality jobs. It was clear from our community meetings that citizens want to create more opportunity and economic stability for the next generation. Our subregional hub is eager to present specific projects to the leadership council. Thank you so much for listening.
We do have, hang on, Lauren, don't go yet. We do have time for one or two questions or comments. Is there any right now? And the Calusa table will be around as well. Yeah.
Devin, region, in the beginning, you were talking about some of the challenges over reliance on ag, especially rice, drought, and some of the recommendations or actions for investment in ag. How do you balance the challenges of over reliance on ag with the need for investment in ag?
Well, I think it's really important to, and I'll lean on my team for this, but we are looking at kind of more of a variety, but recognizing that ag has a strong foothold. And so where can we get creative? So those value added ag will definitely come up quite a bit. And we're looking at that, but we're also looking at and expanding, ag AI. Having our and ag, but then how do we diversify and move outside of that? As much as we can, right? But we do recognize that that is one of the big.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Calusa. We're gonna move ourselves forward just because of time. They are right there. You can find them. Yes, raise your hand. Congratulations, great job. I can see our El Dorado class moving down already. Sarah Isabel and Kristen York.
Hello. Really pleased. My name is Kristen York. I'm with Sierra Business Council. We're a 30-year-old nonprofit, 30 years this year. And we are the Subregional Partners in Colorado. Incidentally, we are also leaders for our neighboring region, the Eastern Sierra. I got it right.
All right, and the artifact that we have chosen is a Nisanon Maidu Indian basket. And by choosing this basket, I'm calling in the ancient wisdom weavers and the matriarch societies. As we rematrix community well-being, economic well-being, ecosystem health, and human health, we need their wisdom. Weaving is an art and a science. Whether you're making a basket or like we're doing in We Prosper Together, reweaving a social fabric, it takes presence, skill, wisdom, and recognition of the connection to the earth as the basis of all. And so the basket, I didn't bring one, but I brought some willows. I see that one is made of willows and redbud. These are some of the little willow branches, and I see these trees on my walk every day. And I have no idea how to make a basket. It's beautiful. But in doing, also, I want to call in the ancient wisdom of all variants. The Incas, the African king, queen, the Celtic, goodness. What?
The Nordics.
The Nordic, yeah. Okay, so this is the question, the quest, all come together, which I started all of my outreach workshops with. And it's how I got called into this work. Kristen called me, and this idea of reimagining the economy brought me here. How might we create an inclusive and sustainable economy that values all life, where all life prospers, is a quest that we're on. So just calling that question forward, and want to start by saying that I'm so grateful to be able to be here and doing this creative work. Kristen's gonna introduce our team.
Great. Well, unfortunately, Jess Carr couldn't be here with us together, but she's an important part of our team as the lead for the Small Business Development Center for this region. Myself, I'm the vice president, and Sarah Isabel really is taking the load of the lead. But we couldn't do this without our on-the-ground partners, the Placer Community Foundation, El Dorado Community Foundation, and the Growth Factor. fantastic partners, and they were able to bring their networks in. And something I want to share related to the basket, Sandra Chapman, one of our tribal elders at our leadership meeting, said that this is work for the seventh generation, and I love that, and I hope everybody thinks that we're really doing this is a long-term.
Okay, and then here you can see some of our community partners, which I could not have been effective in this authentic engagement that I've been doing for the past 9 months without them. So Latino Leadership Council, Elisa is here, right, Elisa, back there, and one of her board members. And they are the representatives of the Latino community in Placer and Sacramento. And they represent a huge workforce that is working in very low quality jobs and is ready for some economic development. We also have Sierra College. They came up in pretty much every discussion that we had. So a lot of their trainings and certificates, they're an amazing partner. Then the Alchemist, I saw Sam leaving, but Sam Greenlee, he's been an amazing thought partner and really showed up for me and my workshops. And I just love their very simple mission statement is connecting community to land, food, and opportunity. And so it's just perfect for this whole movement. And if I could see an Alchemist public market in each of our subregions, I think we would always. The farming community, the Farm Bureau, and the Apple Hill Farmers, for example, really helped me to get that outreach going into, and some of you were there from Golden Sierra into the foothills on the El Dorado side. And the arts, Christina Morales, my cousin, was a singer at workshops. It was amazing. And then the tribe, I was with the Iwak Maidu Cultural Foundation, Francis Rego, the Sierra Club, one of the Nisanan tribal elders. They really, I give them credit for my, without them, I couldn't have reached anywhere. Okay, so here's the communities that we targeted. Okay, so basically through those partnerships, the community partners and the community foundation and growth factory, we were able to get into all these different marginalized communities, you know, the historically vested, obviously our kids. We did, and all the things on the left, you know, newsletters, flyers, websites, all that, all the things. My central community engagement strategy was the series of ideation workshops. So for that, I used a human-centered design approach, which means that we use empathy and optimism to approach even seemingly intractable problems like poverty, and that the people that experience these problems every day are the ones who hold the keys to the answer. So my first workshop was with a group of Latino mamas, Spanish, and my mom is from Mexico, believe it or not. It was an honor to actually start the work and challenge myself into doing it in Spanish. So, but I learned so much from that meeting and was able to do a couple in throughout the region, in Roseville, in Apple Hill, all over Placer and Colorado. So those numbers, I think, speak for themselves. I've been really busy. We did a bunch of interviews, focus groups. We got a stakeholder map together of over 400 people that have been engaged throughout this process. So again, all the credit to my partners for that. And I spoke at several conferences too, which also helps the word. You'll see some of your shining faces there. But sort of the main takeaway here is from all that outreach is that there's a divide between the needs of the marginalized communities and the industry sector approach in general. And certainly as you go up the hill into the foothills and into the mountains, it starts to become a very fuzzy conversation about how that actually applies. And so when you're talking to Latinos who are already working, you know, 2 jobs, they only have Sundays off, they can't even go to a doctor's appointment, and then you tell them, what do you want? A job in manufacturing or technology? what do they say? And you guys have heard me say this before, maybe some of you. ¿Qué tiene que ver conmigo? What does that have to do with me? They can't see themselves from where they are into a job of that kind. It's not meeting them where they are. So how do we bridge between, here's some industry sectors that we think are gonna bring wealth to this region, and the people that are actually so disinvested they can see the pathway. So we're gonna build those pathways, and we're gonna center those around their needs, talking to those people. So that's what I did. So that's kind of my biggest learning, that, you know, and also, and I'll just say this, but we all know this, is that there's systemic barriers that, you know, actively prevents these people from home ownership, from higher education, from a job, of course. Right? So dismantling systemic barriers, yes. And how are we gonna do that? Well, we are gonna look at those inclusive pathways. So that would be, you know, providing equitable access to home ownership, training, education, and a little jumbling act here. So the discovery of the barriers, which I'm already speaking to in the outreach, so those basic bridges out of poverty in the workshops came up, these ones most frequently. So having some of those trainings in other languages like Spanish would be, you would find that pretty quickly, actually, some of the job openings would be filled. Education, job skills, and support for migrant families. Of course, housing, transportation, childcare came up every workshop. Broadband, tech skills as you go up into the hills and mountains, very important. Not everyone actually even has internet. The thing about mentors is because when you ask someone that's really living on the margins again, which of these jobs would you want? It's like, well, I don't know. The job I would love to study, but I get home, I'm so tired. They need help to actually understand what they want to do. It's not for us to tell them if they want to make semiconductors or, you know, do coding, right? So that mentorship, that on the ground partner is going to be essential for helping them from where they are to the we prosper together economy. And then having leadership, Black, Indigenous, people of color leadership to show them way and to guide them there. We need a lot more of that very white here, Pastor and Eldorado leadership. Small business support across the board. It's harder for the marginalized to get access to capital and to get technical assistance in Spanish. And so there's some work, and there is a new program out through SBDC, right? That's I think it's called OLA. But so that's something that we're working on, some projects around building on the SBDC, that's a small business development center. And then about the agriculture community. So we do have a very robust agriculture community in our subregion. And when you talk about, it actually kind of feels like a threat, like they're gonna lose their jobs to technology. So just investing in them as the foundation, you know, fertile soil and farming community as the foundation to any technology. Or at least bringing them along into the transition to technology. Okay, the local serving opportunity. Yes. So first, I want to say, and this came from the Brookings research, is that the local serving opportunities, the ones that cater to our households here in this region, account for 80% of the job growth, the fast growth that happened in the 5 years previous that were studied. So just to be careful that we don't discount them. They're super important, especially in our more rural areas. And we don't jump to the industry. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna hurry up. Okay. So the healthcare, there's a few projects. So my mission over the next 4 months or so, before the RFPs come out, is to be working together with, so we have talent pipeline management, healthcare collaborative, and then with Latino Leadership Council, we have them working on getting bilingual community health providers. And so there's some strategy coming together there. There's another one in El Dorado and Sierra. Construction and the trades, this is a really cool idea where, of course, again, Sierra College is really important. But some of the training that's being done with Latinos in the area with, community resource projects. The idea is to have them trained, they do renewable energy installed HVAC, construction jobs, that sort of thing. And then when they finish those certifications and learnings, that they work with Project Equity, who helps with the worker-owned solution. So then instead of just having to, get by, they can actually create wealth within their families and their communities. So we're really working on that worker-owned solution and with Latino Leadership Council. Hospitality, we would love to see some more regional agritourism. So people like to come for the apples and the grapes and just kind of diversify that, work with the land trust and the trails people and the tribes to get diversified tourism. And industry aligned projects, so we have, we have Growth Factory doing amazing things with their accelerator, and of course the programs at Sac State, Sierra College with Ag Tech. You heard me talk about those, but I think what also is important is the CTE program starting earlier in high school. So like Beacon High School has a really amazing program working with kids. Some places even starting as early as 7th grade, 9th grade, so these kids can graduate and have high quality jobs. We have Bosch coming to the area, which is new, so there's opportunity there to take a big company and have them work with the small companies and work with the marginalized and train the workers with barriers and create local hire provisions. And then working lands.
Hey, working lands, if we look at the map where we prosper together, the majority of the geography is actually rural and can be considered working lands. It's a super important sector for everybody in this room, maybe with the exception of. But when we talk about working lands in our region, we are talking about agriculture, we're talking about forests, water. These are all really important resource-driven economies, and many of them have good paying jobs that do not require a 4-year degree and the debt that comes with that. They're very attractive. There's also a travel workforce program that we've been working on and hoping to expand that, and then of course wildfire. So moving forward, I mentioned working lands is attractive to many of our disinvested communities because it doesn't require that leap to a 4-year degree. And then I have to do a shout out for the small businesses. The majority of jobs in all of our communities come from small businesses. So the SBDCs are really, really important, and they're an asset that we can leverage with money because they're already somewhat funded, and the more we can support them, they can provide more services. So a couple ideas, one of them, childcare, has come up everywhere, and we're working on a pilot program to train in-home daycare and then provide some grant funding for permitting and safety, et cetera, to drive that forward. So these are small businesses, actually. And then, as I've already mentioned, project activities.
Okay, almost there, guys. Hang in there, stretch, jump up and down. Okay, so you already heard me talk about that, but I do want to highlight Women's Earth Alliance because we've had so many projects coming from women and the environment together, and they have an amazing program called the Regenerative Agriculture and Health Accelerator that they can build out in our region and are excited to do so. So I'm really excited about that. And then in terms of racial equity, we know that race and gender and zip code do dictate wealth, so to fight against that intentionally in every way, policies, programs, practices. We have some good ideas for how, for example, I talked with dream.org and they're green for all programs for Black and brown green jobs, and private industries would be an amazing idea here. Oops, wrong way, just kidding. Okay, we made it. So increasing income levels, shifting the narrative. This is super important. I'll just end on this point. You can read all the other ones, is that the people that are the trusted partners of the marginalized communities are the ones that should be doing this work because they're there for them. They care about their health, development of the youth, no matter what fund comes and goes. And so these are the people that can empower them, can shift the narrative away from, oh, let's give you a job and, help you, you're a victim. to know you're an extremely valuable asset. We need you. These are the barriers against you, and here's how we're gonna address it. So that's my summary. Thank you, guys.
We have time for a question or comment.
Just, one thought about the Spanish population. My understanding that state agencies have to specify what percentage of their catchment area, like Department of Motor Vehicles, license center, has to be able to identify how many people there are in that area. They would need a second language speaker. If you looked at distribution of language challenged communities by area, so you're thinking specifically about your.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did talk with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and they have a lot of great data in that I've been working with the Latino Leadership Council very closely, and some of their partners have that information. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one more, then we're gonna take a short break, and then we'll come back with our last two. Excited to have Nevada and the Tahoe region, Derek and Gil.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you to everybody for helping me figure out the phone. And my name is Derek Martin. I'm here with the Tahoe Prosperity Center. We work in the Tahoe, Nevada region for bottom line economic development in coordination with Nevada County and Subregional Partners. You got the rest of these? So we were founded on the 2000 Lake Tahoe Basin Prosperity Plan, the first economic development study for the Lake Tahoe Basin. It was a comprehensive study and something we followed up over the years with our prosperity playbook, surveying over 800 residents to try to constantly reinvigorate our emotions and our aspects of what we're doing and be intentional about our development opportunities.
Thank you, and Bill Matthew with Nevada County Economic Resource Council. Resources are our middle name. We are a resource for business, government, nonprofits, and the community as a whole. Gathering, analysis, presenting data to businesses, coaching, one-on-one assistance to community development and advocacy. ERC is a strategic partner. 1996, ERC has been a voice for small business, working closely with new entrepreneurs to guide them on this tricky road to success. And this is our leadership team, the Tahoe and Denver subregion, but with a staff behind us supporting the vision and pulling the wagon of information and making all the technology work. You know, from the husky good looks of Derek, the eastern side of the Great Mountain, to the youthful good looks of William Apple on the western side, and guidance from Heidi, Hill, Drum, and me. At least three of them are really good looking. Now, the teams are separated by over 800 miles, 80 miles, and a 9,000-foot granite mountain. We have worked closely together over the past 12 months, and I'm proud to say that we have learned a lot, we built a lot, and we've come to understand and appreciate barriers in the disinvested community, and will remain committed to building realistic pathways to bring all people to the economic table. Community engagement over the vast expanse of the Tahoe Nevada subregion has taken on many forms. Most significantly, we have drilled deep with many one-on-one interviews and group investigations into the needs of the disinvested community. These interviews and interactions helped us in building some program suggestions for solutions to the central question of how do we build an equity and inclusive in the underserved world. Our community partners, these are some of the key players in the work that we've been doing, but there are many, not on this slide, on both sides of the mountain. On the western side of the geologic tour, that is the Sierra Nevada mountain range, we've engaged more than 40 community groups. On the eastern slope, more than 40 groups, we're hardest to work on understanding the needs and the opportunities of this unique, diverse region.
Looking further into our regional cluster connection and the four aspects that we've all come to know of over this time, our working and value chain, something that Kristen has showed us resonates very well with the vast majority of our region. We see a lot of opportunity here in the Tahoe sub-region, not only locally in our own productive silo, but also collaborating regionally and being able to access not only aspects that keep our environment healthy and safe, but also engage our community in the technological innovations or environmental innovations that we have seen through community studies, give us the opportunities, as mentioned in Calusa, where we can take the tech and emerging technology and kind of take some of our core functions and then prop those up with emerging technologies, keeping and making them tradable and diversifying our sector experience from our core businesses. That I think works hand in hand with the advanced business and the technical services. Making sure that our area is attractive to large business corporations, as mentioned with Placer and Eldorado, attracting companies like Bosch and other developers in this area, helps our region as a whole and helps us be able to connect all these different inclusionary pathways to, in the end, well-paying jobs. Precision manufacturing, similarly, this helps us keep a lot of the great research and innovation that we've done through our local community colleges, through our universities, through small businesses that have different innovations and technologies that work for our area. Precision manufacturing helps us keep these in our area as tradable sectors and allows us to train for jobs that aren't necessarily a four-year degree-based program that has its own limitations, but ways that we can grow. And ag, food tech, and biomedical innovation, similarly, the innovation thing is key. We can take our sectors that we're already excelling in, areas we're already producing in, and prop these up with these inclusionary strategies to build better pathways, not only for this generation, but for the next generation on bringing wealth from outside of the area inside to our area. How does this serve the local hub? Well, we've identified our four tradable sectors that fit well to this area. Those sectors are more difficult to grow, but do not need to be left out. They need to be focused on. That being said, as earlier identified, as much as many as 80% of growth in many of these areas comes from these sectors, and they're not to be left behind. In the Tahoe area, we're very proud to have a lot of great healthcare systems, Barton Health, Tahoe Forest, UC Davis Health. They provide many opportunity jobs for our growing population. These opportunities do grow with the population, but it's important for us for people to be able to live where they work or want to live where they're going to be able to retire. This for us is key on the accessibility factor. If we aren't addressing our health and wellness factors, we're going to have a problem having accessibility and being able to keep people and let people age where they choose to live regionally. Environmental innovation is directly from our prosperity playbook. This sector for me ties together the three other sectors from the previous thing. Tying in advanced business services, tying those into precision manufacturing, and being able to get all these coordinated aspects working together for our communities along with the environment. And working land we've talked about, this is something that fits into all of our communities, allows us for that regional collaboration, and I think has a great potential through collaboration with our local community colleges and public safety building to make us competitive, not only at the state level, but on the federal level by engaging a large section of our population. So for discovery of barriers and challenges, one of the main ways that I went about discovering some of our barriers and challenges was simply to hold community meetings and borrow some information that I used from the state. So I'm using a Menti.com survey to simply allow people sitting in a room like this to engage with the presentation via their cell phone. And so to simply ask the question of what barriers and challenges do you see here? And when they're sitting here with a blank screen and watching and putting what barriers they see into their phone, they get to watch these come up and it helped me to increase the amount of engagement I had to the group, even engage the youth that wanted to participate, but sit in the car and didn't want to be in there with their parents, and then keep building out the same presentation by presentation. So we can see here, you know, having good jobs, having affordable housing, having stable jobs that aren't seasonal, that hit many of our agriculture things. These are words directly from our community members' mouths that they chose to put into public for things that they thought their barriers and challenges. So instead of me having to put my exact voice to this, These are living documents that we have been working on through a collaboration with Promotores Group, through our Family Resource Center, through the Sierra Community House, and getting these feedback directly from our community members on areas where we need to be focused, and using this to judge our previous survey of 1,800 residents with our prosperity playbook on making sure we're still getting the right metrics and areas.
No surprise that the Nevada County's disinfectant committee experienced those same barriers. We can boil it down to several things. Housing, food, childcare, transportation. Those are much the same things that all of you know about. These were not surprising. How do we clump with these? That's the question we're gonna have.
Similar to my previous slide, in the survey, we were asking local serving job opportunities, and kind of building on what Sarah as well was talking about earlier, when you ask, where do you see these jobs, it's very hard for them to even understand what we're putting this time to and what aspect of this is actually going to be accomplishing. So this was an ability for them and over 40 community members to put on a sliding scale between these categories where they thought opportunities were, and a lot of these sectors where they would be most interested in. And we see that environmental innovation did quite well in incorporating all of these different precision manufacturing strategies, working lands, finding ways to do something new with what we already have, not trying to introduce something new, not having it be so different that people are feeling left behind, and not having it be something as traditional as we see here as business services and management, something that I think many of the community members have felt left out in the past and are not as excited about moving forward in the future without having to tie this together. For the ways that I see this aligning with our potential industry aligned projects in Tahoe, again, great promise in the working land sector. We've been working regionally on trying to find ways to build up what we're calling a public safety initiative with our local community colleges. So using our community colleges network is not only a way to engage previously disinvested community members, but also for Tahoe, our workforce. Because we don't have a lot of workforce development agencies, we're using a lot of our workforce training organizations, community colleges, and the high schools to help promote these different projects. So using federal land and grant dollars to the community college help match funds with the We Prosper Together to increase public training for public safety jobs like fire hardening and home defense, for air traffic controllers, for lots of jobs that don't require a 4-year degree, but that have promise going not only for this generation, but for the next generation. And with that, tying into environmental innovation, seeing areas that we can use our environment and our technology and our well-educated workforce to benefit us in the future.
So given the sectors we were looking for, two of them were standouts. One of them, precision manufacturing. That's evolved over the past 40 years, now requiring skills in specific technology areas such as CAD and CAM. Many companies are finding it necessary to train in-house due to the specific nature of the requirements. This means that we may need to modify the way we build food and ag technology. Some of the same components, very specialized workforce requirements. But in both cases, entry-level opportunities are created for good ladder employment. We want to look at those.
So for our regional inclusionary pathway strategies, it's gonna be a lot of new things we've seen to everybody, but again, echoing childcare, housing, and food, those are what we need to make good jobs. And again, going back to the overarching theme, when people are looking at having possibly a Sunday as their only free day of work, really what this gets to is getting time back into people's days to be able to participate in a lot of these wonderful strategies that maybe we have tried to do in the past or tried to implement in the past. How can we get the hours back into people's days to be able to participate in the programs not only we are going to build in the future, but that we have existing now. So supporting learning projects with childcare, making sure that people have that time to get there, making sure that when people participate in these programs, if it's a public safety program like I'm talking about, the benefit to that is that it's a 2-week training program. They need housing to do that. Any programs like that, we will need to make sure that these people have a place to stay, that there is more rental, that for us, isn't in a tourism-based market where it's going to be over a busy weekend of the year and it's going to be twice the cost of the program just to find somewhere to stay for 2 weeks. And on top of that, then being able to get your transportation to and from the program. And again, I've had the lucky as part of our inclusionary strategies to have talked, one of our talks was with a former Instacart brand designer, Zain Ali, and he had the ability to take all the food data in the entire country and be able to look at that, how it plays out over Instacart with the deliveries. And Tahoe is a food desert. It is one of the most expensive places in the country. And when people even come up from the Bay, from San Francisco, they're now buying their groceries ahead of time and bringing coolers up instead of purchasing groceries in Tahoe. So the major ability for our workers to be able to participate there and for even to be able to participate in the restaurants, one of the main inclusionary pathways that have from our Spanish speaking community. It's just a permit to avoid parking fees and the extra restaurant tourist tax. You know, they can't believe they're paying a tourist tax and a parking fee versus where they work. In summary, we're looking at increasing resiliency through accessibility in order to have a more prosperous economy. And to summarize this, realistically, for more resiliency, we need to diversify for tradable sectors. Very appreciative of the Brookings and the Community Strong team for giving us these pathways and these resources to not only be able to show this visually, but also verbally to increase our resiliency by diversifying our economy. We, in 2010 in Tahoe, were over 60% or 40% reliant on tourism. Now we are 60%. We've had a 50% increase the amount that our economy relies on tourism. So hoping to protect ourselves from forest fires, pandemics, other forms of economic shock through that resiliency by diversifying our economy in these tradable sectors. How are we going to get people and have these turn into jobs? We need to make sure they're accessible. Language, having more language accessibility. We've had our Spanish speaking meetings. I've used strategies for the southern border to try to implement different headsets. We just talked about having small business and how important small business is. We do monthly entrepreneurship roundtables in all 5 counties around the lake. We're now offering those in Spanish via the headset and also having fully Spanish dedicated entrepreneurship roundtables. So it's a more inclusive environment, not in a dominated space. In summary, what does all this mean? The future initiative designed to create more well-paying jobs in Tahoe will need to incorporate aspects that are assist the community members in getting the time back in their day so that they can participate in whatever it is we decide and the wonderful things we already have going. Childcare, nutrition, transportation, and housing are all critical aspects that we will need to see more of and incorporated into future design projects that will work on our economic development. And I look forward to working on that with everybody.
The one thing we didn't do is we didn't bring our artifact. Where's your artifact?
I love that.
This is artifact. I brought my artifact, which is gold. This is how Nevada County got started, was mining gold. We've transitioned. We're now mining the brain and the intellect. And that's what's going to make us sustainable. We're not mining gold. Thank you. Oh, there's
Water, Lake Tahoe water, very important for our economy. Using it, it's one of our original things, not only for agriculture, throughout the rest of the state, having water from this year, Nevada flow down, but also in aspects originally, like mining gold, very difficult to mine up without gold, and one of our multiple active values.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gil and Derek. Before you walk up, any questions or comments? Y'all ready for prayer? Jim?
I just want to say that I'm very surprised. Healthcare, education, housing, is common themes for a very affluent area like Lake Tahoe or a very poor area. Williams, Luce. I think we can partner, make a big difference here.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Yes, housing, I think is the central thing we've all seen. I've been submitted on housing boards. I know one of them with the local community colleges in the project inventory is for building tiny homes. Something that excites me about that necessarily is the building of homes aspect. The program is inclusive all the way through high school. So they're training these people through building these tiny homes to fit into different ADU programs, kind of like we spoke of, through high school, through the community college, into a nice precision manufacturing job where they have those skills, whether it's in building homes, tiny homes, any of these things, keeping the training and the pathway there to keep us competitive in future programs.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Gil. All right. We're gonna take a 15-minute stretch break. You do have to get up, it is required. You need the energy for the next two presenters. We are back at 2:45. Not sure who from our Sacramento YOLO is, or there's four of you. It's an army.
Should be good now.
All right, as we come back, we have two more of our sub-regional presentations. First up is our Sacramento YOLO. It's here in front of me, behind me right now. As we're going through this, again, please make sure you're taking your notes. We're gonna be using those notes for the breakout activities. And if you have to leave early, you can always give us your notes. We can use them and put them into the system for what will be your part of your leadership council conversation in June. All right, so. Kiara.
Can you guys hear me? Awesome. My name is Kiara Reed. I'm the Executive Director of Civic Thread. We're an organization that has advocated for, implemented, and inspired health equity in the built environment through systems change, land use, transportation, policy, and community empowerment. We are actually really proud today to be representing two of the subregions, Yuba Sutter, who you'll hear from in just a bit, and Sacramento YOLO, our team right here on stage with me. This is our artifact, beautiful photo. As you know, Sacramento YOLO is an incredibly diverse subregion, which I think you can see by the representation that's here up on the stage. I think the reason that we chose this photo is because it shows the bridge between two subregions, the connection to water, people, economic prosperity, and just, I think it's an iconic picture of what people think of when they think about Sacramento and Sacramento. It was also taken by one of our team members, Alberto, raised here in the back, photographer, and one of our representatives from Sacramento Building Quality Community. We have several partners that are representing this team. In addition to the Civic Thread team, we partnered with Everyday Impact Consulting, Sacramento Building Quality Communities. We also have Black Artist Foundry. And then our partners on the business side include Annette Smith, the Sacramento Asian Chamber, and then Civic Well. Don't believe they're in the space today. But our team is comprised of experts in small business advancement, community empowerment and resilience, and arts advocacy and the creative economy. With that, I'll pass it to Kim, who's gonna get into the meat of it.
Don't give me the. Okay, so Kim Williams is building healthy communities. When we joined up with this project, one of the things we talked about was really making sure that our community engagement was going to be impactful. But then it was really going to get to the communities where we can really get to the voices. Our biggest concern is making sure that those voices were heard in this process and getting to the root of the issues. We also know we have a very diverse group in Sacramento and YOLO, and so wanting to make sure that we use multi-pronged approaches so that we can capture as many as we could. So the chart kind of speaks for itself, but we did listening sessions, we had charrettes, we had one-on-one conversations, community event tabling, among the sub-regional meetings, as well as multiple business convenings. We wanted to make sure we had business voice, especially our small business partners, but also making sure that we also had community voice. What we got out of those conversations with folks was a lot of issues around, folks in the room have very, very strong opinions. When you ask community what they want, they will tell you.
and they didn't understand about their issues. They were very solution oriented. I think the challenges that came in was really how to incorporate the diversity from both communities and making sure that we were being authentic to that. But also getting to engage community in kind of abstract concepts, because a lot of the work is done for this trying to be figured out. So when you're asking community about thinking about the future, when they're having issues right now today, can often be a challenge. And so it really did, we really got some wonderful learning from them as we move this work forward and looking at community engagement and community voices. We center that. It's going to be very important to make sure that we don't lose their trust, because that's the one you can ask them things and they give us all this information, and then at the end result, the opposite of what they said, then we've lost trust. And one of the things we found out, there's already a lot of mistrust in community about central government, state and local. How do we bring that back and bring that trust back? It's going to be very important. Our community partners, this is some of the folks that we work with, of course, tapping into, again, our community-based folks, residents, and making sure that we also brought labor and our business partners into the fold, so that we make sure we connected with all those different levels. Again, while there's some that aren't here, we actually have a lot more. The list could be a lot longer, but we have to put them on the slide. We want you to be able to see. I'm gonna give it over to the next.
Thank you so much, Kim. As mentioned earlier, I'm Annette Smith, representing the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce. And with our partner Civic Well, we led the business engagement piece. And you might be wondering, why did we build it that way? While working really closely and collaboratively with our community engagement partners, oftentimes the business community is invited into these conversations and they'll show up one time and they won't come back. And it's because they don't always see the value in the conversation for themselves. When we're talking about solving our homeless crisis or childcare issues, the business people are like, yeah, I need to get back to work. And especially when you think about 95% of our economic mobility within our state is based on small businesses, right? They are our economic engine. So we want to make sure that we're able to connect with them in a meaningful way that meant something for them, and to hear from them in a way that they felt heard, and that as we start building out this economic plan, that they are at the forefront of the conversation in partnership with our collaborative communities in an inclusive way. So that's why we did that. Some of our local serving industries that we uncovered, nothing, I don't think it's any surprise to anyone from what I've seen earlier today. Healthcare, with 4 large healthcare systems, the entire healthcare sector has about 180,000 employees in it right now, and they are actually still looking for great talent. The beautiful thing about those jobs, even at an entry-level position, they're good quality jobs. They've got great benefits, they've got pathways for growth and opportunities. And so you can be kind of whatever you might want to be in the healthcare sector. Construction, you've heard about that. And the challenge, I think, is that we aren't building enough as it relates to housing. I think every single subregion has mentioned that already. Tons of great jobs available in construction, but we need to make sure that they're actually able to build something. The public, we've touched on it in some of the other communities. We can't get away from it. We are the state capital. We are a government town. Not our government community, not just that, but that there are still great opportunities as well in the public sector in areas that aren't just what you might think about working at City Hall, sorry, Michael, but that things around, our waterways and our waste treatment. So really bad. There's lots of jobs in the public sector. They have the same retirement issues as other industries. And so it's a great opportunity for anyone who's looking. And then logistics, the Sackville area, because of our big regional airport, as well as the airport in Mather, we're right off the freeway. We have all the connectors to other logistics sectors, like the ports of entry, goods and services. So logistics is a huge opportunity in our community, great entry-level jobs with the pathway for growth and development. On the education sector. So education is, with large colleges and universities within a region, and they're all growing.
and looking to grow, but they need talent to make that happen. And in our K-12 sector, there's just not enough teachers. Anyone that has kids knows the challenges that they go through on a regular basis to find teachers. Still a great pathway to a good quality job, within paid living wages, better than living wages. And then business services. So I think a couple of the areas have touched on this, and this is one where some business services could be working with our local institutions, but they could also be part of the tradable sector because it can be exported out. And things like consultants, like I am, who do different things for different organizations, certainly an absolutely growing sector of our community. Our tradable industry sector is not super different, I think, from what you've heard from other regions, especially in precision manufacturing. The only one that I think that hasn't shown up already, the two, are life sciences. I don't know, most people don't know that Johnson Labs is an amazing life sciences institution in West Sacramento, has been there forever. They produce all of these products for research. And then, of course, with the development of Aggie Square, there's huge opportunities in the life sciences industry for both businesses and for employment. And then electric mobility. We have the California Mobility Center, all of us here in the room. Huge opportunities to build a research hub here in the greater Sacramento region that's really going to help drive that innovation in electric mobility. Some of our barriers and challenges, not super different from what you've already heard, but there are gaps. One of the things that did come up was the gap between available jobs and what people think in the community think are available jobs. And there's a misalignment, right, in what their perception and what's really available, and in our training side, what's actually available for training, how do you get people into those roles, so we can do a better job of outreach in those communities to help them better understand, like, oh, here's an entry pathway for you that doesn't require very, like, it could be low-hanging fruit, for sure. Training and education is inaccessible, convenient transportation, all the things you've heard before. But on the business side, we've heard a lot of access to capital and contract financing is a challenge. So businesses would love to grow, they're waiting to get paid from institutions that are using their services, and it prevents them from actually growing and hiring more talent. Regulatory administrative burdens, California is not easy to do business in, as I just got my city tax bill. You know that they actually require you to get a permit to operate a business out of your house. I'm like, oh, but I'm already paying tax. Like, make it make sense. Lack of small business utilization. It's always surprising when you think about your local municipal government who don't actually buy goods and services from in their local communities. So there is an initiative to make sure that at least they're having to report on how they're using small businesses so that some of those tax dollars that we all spend in our communities actually stay within our communities. Procurement opportunities and of course benefits are always challenges for businesses. So for us, our potential industry aligned projects, one of the things when we were looking at them, and kudos to those subregions that were able to pull out real nuggets. We have 17 projects that have been added to the project inventory list from the South Yellow subregion, and we didn't find enough information or common ground yet to really pull out those that might be ready for funding. So we have some more work to do in that space, but our framework for making those decisions are going to be projects that include things like meeting the essential needs, addressing some of those barriers that we've already uncovered, prioritizing hiring or creating local jobs, right? And building capacity for small businesses to engage more effectively in our economy.
See if I can make the mic work again quicker. Yeah, great. Okay, so I think a lot of the common threads that we've heard through some of the other sub-region presentations, and that hold true in Sacramento and Yolo counties as well, is that people's basic needs are really not being met. So again, that childcare, adult care, transportation, people being able to afford food and find livable wage jobs, that is a major challenge that we've heard. So our inclusionary pathway strategies really get to meeting some of those needs and thinking through what some of the next steps for collaboration are within our subregion, and as part of the California Jobs First project. So these are pretty high level. You will see a handout, I think, that's been passed out by our team that has more details, that I'm gonna speak to as well, but if you would like a reference, in addition to the pretty icons on the slide. The first one for us is really about community co-creation and making sure that community benefits that have been discussed in all of these inclusionary strategies are actually realized and enforced, and that there are accountability mechanisms to ensure that those hold true as California Jobs First funding comes down the pipe and results in all these incredible projects. We have continuously heard that sometimes the community benefits promised may not be realized. And we need to think through, including in the equity framework, community benefits agreements and what that is going to look like, building that and incorporating it. Next one is support for small businesses and ensuring economic diversification. So that might include initiatives that really support the expansion of minority and women-owned businesses. Small businesses, we've heard, have trouble in the technical assistance and the capital needed to be able to provide those promising and quality jobs in our subregion. Can folks hear me okay? Thank you. Our next one is inclusive education, training, and workforce development. While Sacramento and Yolo counties are rich in resources already, the disparities in what is here is also pretty extreme. And one thing that we consistently hear is that many training programs and things that are intended to bring up people who have been on the margins and haven't been able to access the job aren't necessarily making it possible to participate. Someone who has to work a service job with irregular hours, they only know 2 weeks in advance, might not be able to commit to a training program that maybe happens 9 to 5 or low wage. That just might not functionally be feasible. So we really need to work with people who have experienced some of these challenges in designing programs and delivering programs that provide that flexibility, that provide multilingual training, particular in non-English speaking communities. And that are designed specifically for the people that they're trying to benefit, not just broadly hoping that those people show up and connect with it. Kind of underscoring all of this is for folks in this collaborative space, and generally who have been engaged through to help contribute to a policy landscape that is supportive of a lot of these strategies. So pushing forward initiatives for things like broadband, internet access, affordable housing, accessible transportation and public transit, building transit-oriented development. People who live close to where they work, not have to spend an arm and a leg on transportation just to get to their job. In addition, like institutionalizing ways that support green businesses and sustainable ag and other sustainable endeavors. We also need to think about anti-displacement. I think something that we've heard from a lot of communities when doing our community engagement was the fear that if jobs come into our region, it's going to push the people who are already here out. They're not able to access those jobs, or maybe they don't want to. So thinking through how to also incorporate anti-displacement policies that have teeth and are actually implementable and working with the people who have been doing this work. And then we've heard childcare benefits, making sure that there's flexible leave policies for working parents in jobs and working with employers to make that all happen. Lastly, I think one of the really underscoring thing that we kept hearing was how there is a gap between the information that is out there and whether people are getting it. So working with connecting institutions, many of whom responded to the call for projects with ideas of their own on how we can connect people to information about how to get jobs, how to bridge the gap in understanding really difficult job hiring processes, being able to understand the requirements that are needed, because oftentimes the education that someone might need or the qualifications isn't actually as big as what's perceived. They just may need a little bit of help to get there. And particularly thinking through offering that information in multiple languages, not just English, because you're going to tap into a huge part of the job market there. I went backward. So I think in summary, a really big thread with the Sacramento Yolo subregion is that it is actually resource rich. We have huge population, have 0.8 million people, Sacramento and Yolo counties, but there are significant disparities. So our work is really going to be bridging those gaps, making that connection between those people who have been underinvested and disinvested, and being specific about where we're investing. We're also going to need to continue to build the strategic connections, and connect the right people to the right business resources in order to drive economic growth, and work on all sides of the aisle, because there are ways for everyone to benefit if we all work together. And spaces like this are a really incredible place to begin. This work is definitely only beginning, and it also has been happening and we're continuing to build. So bringing the experts into the space to be able to have all these conversations can be essential to achieve our strategic goals. And lastly, I want to end on the point that centering community voices in these processes is absolutely critical, but not just centering the voices, making sure that we actually implement what they're telling us, use their ideas, and enforce it. Funding, and as we go into implementation, that's really the only way to make sure that it's inclusive and impactful. And we are really excited about the potential for this. All gonna come next. Thank you for hearing your presentation for us.
Thank you. Don't leave yet. Any questions or comments, folks? Maybe getting a lot of information too.
I mean, we didn't talk about, I didn't hear discussion about the diversity of languages in your region. You guys looked at it and got a picture of the diversity of languages as you think about how to include.
So was the question how we include?
How did you create, how did you map that?
Oh, gotcha. Well, we have lots of resources that we look at. One thing that we often look at in taxonomy is the languages that are spoken in the different libraries, but we also do a lot of multilingual outreach through projects and initiatives that we do. And so we end up getting a pretty good sense of what languages might be needed, and what immigrant communities might. And we've actually had we've had a conversation with someone today just about some outreach they were doing with the Afghan community and the potential there to build development.
I have a question for you too. Thank you for your brilliant presentation. And Kiara, it's really good to see you. You and I sat next to each other at the Black Artist Foundry just like 6 weeks ago to talk about the creative economy in California jobs first. And I was hoping in this presentation, and in fact in all presentations, to see some acknowledgement of the creative sector and the role it can play, especially during such an important year when Americans for the Arts, that's the National Arts Advocacy Agency, has produced empirical findings on the economic value of the creative sector into, and this year had a very special focus, it had a social impact focus. So I was just wondering, in your presentation, could you just share a little bit more, I mean, especially being Sacramento, like you guys are so crazy creative. Like, how is the creative sector going to be involved? What's your thinking?
Thank you for that question. One of our partners is Faith McKinney in the back. She's the founder and executive director of Black Artist Foundry. And that event that you attended, right, that was focused on hearing from the creative economy and how we can embed them in the system. I think part of the challenge that we've been facing is trying to figure out how we can amplify the creative economy in things like tradable sectors and where does it exactly. I think most folks view the creative economy as purely local serving industries, but as you and I both know, they do steer for tourism, and they do bring a lot of to this region. There's also within the creative economy the focus on small business and entrepreneurialism. So I think we have to think outside the box when we're thinking about the creative economy, and think of it more as small business, entrepreneurialism, as a way to bring outside dollars in, instead of just thinking of it as simply arts that are only local serving and that don't generate money.
Thank you. Let's give our. All right, the last presentation from our sub-regional funded partners is the youth study team.
Hello. So, yeah, actually, we'll start with our traffic. We learned today we were gonna present to the collage. The source is Google. And I have the actual sources on my laptop if you're interested. So, we have here, the collage, which is serving as our artifact for subregion. This is just a glimpse, Yuba Sutter. I think it really shows the diversity, the history and the landscape that you can expect from our very robust region. So up there in the upper left, you'll see Field Falls, which is just east of our Field Air Force Base. It offers beautiful natural landscape and recreation for the community. Then you'll see the Speak Festival right there. It's actually hosted in Yuba City, and the largest celebration, Speak celebration outside of India. And over here on the bottom left, Volcanic Festival, which is hosted annually in Marysville, usually in the springtime. It's around the oldest Chinese temple in North America, which is really cool. There in the bottom right, this is Feather River, which is, wow, now I understand what you meant about the mic. I'm cutting it out. So here, Feather River is a nice symbol. It splits for two counties, Yuba and Sutter. It goes north to south. And then there in the middle is the walnut orchard, which symbolizes the strong agricultural culture that we do have up in Yuba Sutter. And I feel fortunate, my backyard is actually walnut orchards. I was very tempted to bring a walnut. But that would have been stupid. I didn't. So yeah, we can go on to the presentation now. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone here, and thank you, Leadership Council, for having us to present to you all today. We're really excited to share Yuba Sutter's inclusionary strategies and to give some insight into what we have learned about our communities and redefining what this project really means in the Yuba Sutter subregion, as well as some of our recommendations for strategies to meet the community where they're at and create opportunities for future investment. So our Yuba Sutter team is made up of 4 diverse organizations. You see 3 out of 4 here today, meeting the multi-sectoral needs of California jobs first. Together, we represent rights, equitable community engagement, local economic development and industry knowledge, and innovative strategy building. So this arrangement is unique and has allowed us to deeply embed a community-centered lens in all that we do, including industry-rooted conversations throughout the subregion and developing strategies for future investments. Our partnership includes Center for Workers' Rights, Everyday Impact Consulting, and Yuba Sutter Economic Development Corporation, with Civic Thread facilitating the Yuba Sutter subregion. Our team is going to be introducing ourselves and shouting out some of our team in the crowd. And I'll kick us off. So, hi, my name is Christina Zhang. I'm a project manager at Civic Thread. We just met 2 of my other colleagues before this. I'm here with my colleague, Molly Schaefer. There in the back. Hello. And then, unfortunately, Yuba Sutter Economic Development Corporation could not be here today, but they've been really, I think, the pillar for economic development and industry knowledge and have really helped us compact that with the community-based information we've been collecting. And I'm going to pass that on to Center for Workers' Rights.
Daniela Urban from the Center for Workers' Rights. We assist low-wage workers, their workplace issues in the Yuba Sutter region, as well as our region as well. Regardless of immigration status, we daily are talking to workers about their jobs and what they experience, and we use that to inform our community outreach.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Mike Kutau, part of the Everyday Impact Consulting team. I serve as our Director of Movement Building Initiatives, and I have my partner here from EIC, Jesus Mata, in the back, who has also been a partner and my team member from EIC on this project. And so it's just been an honor for us to be partnering with all of the partners that we see on this slide here, and we want to go ahead and share more about the work that took place. All right, so between January and February of 2024, we really took a multi-pronged approach in our community engagement. And so our activities included interviews, focus groups, our sub-regional roundtables, and our advocacy workshops. And so from our interviews and focus groups, we completed 23 interviews, 6 focus groups, and engaged a total of 39 low-wage workers. We provided stipends for each interview that lasted 30 to 60 minutes, and then $50 for the focus groups, which lasted about 60 to 90 minutes. We also canvassed in Yuba City, Marysville, and Live Oak. And our priority audience for the interviews and focus groups were with low-wage workers where 77% were speaking either Spanish or Punjabi. And the industries represented were agriculture, construction, social service, healthcare, janitorial, public sector, restaurant, and then undisclosed. As a part of our sub-regional roundtables, we hosted 5 between November and May 2024. 3 of those were virtual, 2 in person, and we reached over 38 total attendees. Stipends were also provided for non-collaborative members as well as collaborative members. And we covered presentations and discussions around the SEDS, data, project criteria, and equity strategies for opportunity jobs. And so you'll see that the industries represented in the sub-regional roundtables included our nonprofit, public health, education, both K through 12 and college, hospitality, entertainment, government, construction, economic development, and community organizing. So we were really able to bring together diverse voices, both at the worker level as well as various sectors. We want to do a shout out to our actively involved organizations and businesses listed on here. And so we know that Enterprise Rancheria is here as a leadership council member, same with Yuba College, as well as our partners at Camptonville Community Partnership. And it's wonderful to see you all here. Thank you, because you've also attended many of our sub-regional roundtables and were a part of our conversations all along. Lastly, we had advocacy workshops and hosted 2 in March of 2024, as well. With our members of the Sacramento Investment Without Displacement to learn more about takeaways, considerations for building agreements such as community benefits and project labor agreements. What worked well? So we really were intentional about the most effective way to reach our communities in Yuba Sutter was having that direct engagement, right? So we felt that it worked well for us to conduct focus groups with our priority audiences. At the sub-regional roundtables, we covered a wide range of discussions and engagement with industry partners to incorporate a diverse set of community and multi-sector voices. And then conducting both in-person and virtual engagements really helped with accessibility for our partners to attend meetings. Some of the challenges, go quickly, some of our challenges were actually getting the word out about California Jobs First in our Yuba Sutter communities. Something that we also found difficult was just we know the ever-moving project objectives and target of the California Jobs First throughout the course of the project implementation. And some of the gaps that we found in our engagement was more so in some of the foothill regions. And so there's obviously more nuanced issues for our communities in the foothill regions of Yuba Sutter. And so we understand that our findings here are not a one size fits all, and that there's an opportunity to continue engaging those communities. And the last thing I'll say is that something we found as an opportunity in our work was that as we were reviewing data for Yuba Sutter and data was being released about the region, we had a lot of dialogue back and forth about making sure that recommendations in the research is accurately reflective of our Yuba Sutter communities and the people with lived experiences and needs. And so really lifting up that opportunity to continue that dialogue, even as we're looking at data together. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Christina.
Great, so before we dive into our actual community findings, we'd like to share an overview of how truly addressing and responding to our community's challenges and barriers to quality jobs can be the foundation to important actions to funding projects focusing on industries
best meet community need and support their students. And so our findings and recommendations have been collectively informed by informational interviews and focus groups, which you just heard about, sub-regional roundtables, and UBA Setter's 2020 to 25 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or as you all know it as SETS, as well as the We Prosper Together, I'm going to butcher this, Capital Regional Economic Assessment Data Book, and so we have this nice little metaphor here with the image we were provided, which is also the logo. Starting at the stream here, you will see how we've categorized many challenges and barriers into the cost of living and wage barriers, opportunities for on-the-job training and skill building, transportation access, employer-sponsored benefits, difficulties in job advancement caused by labor contractors, and lastly, instability of seasonal work. And so as we get to the horizon in this image, this serves as the connector between community needs, what future projects should be offering to meet these needs and address gaps to getting a quality job. So at this point, we see that local jobs offer the largest opportunity to support existing skills in alignment with industry and jobs that have been consistently available or have seen a growth over the last 10 years. And so lastly, you'll see the sunrise, which is like the optimism for the outcome of California Jobs First. To see projects funded that accurately reflect our subregion's definition of the 4 project criteria, with a focus on local job opportunities that uplift diverse but historically underinvested communities, low-wage workers, and entry-level skills. We also hope to see a change in statewide and regional outreach practices and strategies towards UBA Setter and other rural areas, just like to strengthen engagement, which can also support efforts like project inventory to collect accurate sub-regional representation. So before we jump into various challenges, I'm going to first turn it over to Daniela, who's going to share what a quality job means to you.
Thank you, Christina. So when we talk to the working community of Yuba Sutter County, we talk specifically about whether they believe their job is high quality, as well as what jobs they believe were high quality. And a lot of the findings match the research presented from City's GPS in terms of the 3 components of high quality jobs being livable wage, benefits, and stability. When we talk to workers in Yuba Sutter, stability was further clarified in most instances in terms of the ability of the position and the industry to be long-term in the community. So many workers actually felt that the agricultural jobs, the farm worker jobs, were considered high quality because they knew that food source was always going to be required. On the other hand, though, some people felt that the agricultural jobs were not stable because of them being weather dependent and required physical in order to continue to work in that industry over the long run. The other elements of a high quality job that really came forward were around treatment and respect in the workplace, which we felt wasn't captured in the prior definition of a high quality job. Even those who reported that they were not working in a high quality job or reluctant to change jobs if they felt that they were currently being treated well, because they didn't want to experience a new workplace where they would be replaceable if they didn't rise to the occasion of the new position, which might have more demands on them and treat them with less respect. One of the key components of this was being entrusted with responsibility as a product of being a high quality job. So we felt that that the industry really bears no reflection of what was a high quality job. So looking at high quality jobs just by industry did not translate into the experience of the workers that we. Also, most community members reflected that they believe that high quality jobs in the region were scarce, as confirmed by the research and data, and that led to competition for those positions, in particular for positions where new immigrants were arriving in the community. It could continue to require that they may have to undermine their wages in order to compete with new arrivals. So then moving on to barriers and challenges, I think I'll start with the overall at the bottom. So the barriers and challenges for the quality jobs in the Yuba Sutter region has caused job instability, limits upward mobility, and impacts the person's ability to meet their basic needs. Most of the individuals that we spoke with, well over 3/4 felt or said that they were frequently unable to meet their basic needs, even though they were working.
And that just shows how far away from having high quality jobs we are, given that those require a living wage. We also heard mostly from our low wage worker community, as Michael said, 77% of those that we spoke to were non-English speaking. And that puts a barrier on themselves in order to feel comfortable with new jobs, unsure of whether those jobs will continue to engage with them in their preferred language. It also made them more fearful of new opportunities that might not be respectful of their culture and their background. Similar to what the other regions have said, childcare and transportation were also issues in the Yuba Sutter region, particularly the distance for which you have to travel to some of the high quality jobs, and that undermined the higher wages that you would receive due to the time spent, not just the time commuting, but also of commuting in the rural region. The dependence on labor contractor was a huge part of what we spoke to workers about. The two primary primary industries we spoke to were agriculture and construction, and both of those industries primarily rely on third-party contractors to have full-time work throughout the year. The farm labor contractor industry, there is a intermediary between the farm owners and the workers. And this prevents upward mobility even from the most skilled and most efficient workers because they are not translating into direct promotion due to the third-party intermediary. We also heard considerable amounts about the seasonal impacts of work, most likely because we were doing this when the January storms were happening. And most of the farm workers were out of work during that time period, unable to work while it was raining. When we spoke to workers about how much they made an hour, most cases was over the minimum wage. However, because they didn't have regular work throughout the year, it kept them in poverty.
Shifting into opportunities, when we review the We Prosper Together data book, we made note of the jobs that have been consistently available or have significantly grown in availability over the last 10 years. So understanding that level of data, we matched that what we heard from our community members, sub-regional roundtables, and in comparison with the current set, and created our recommendations of local industries that may provide the most opportunity to offer a promising or quality job pathway. So out of the list here, you see our recommendation is to enhance entry-level opportunities to meet promising job criteria for Yuba Sutter and build up education and skilled workers on a job while addressing equity barriers that we have just shared. Project prioritization of local opportunities will additionally support our region's mission towards transportation equity, helping to reduce emissions as our community have more local options for work, eliminating the need to travel to other counties. It is also important to note the significance of infrastructure improvements needed, such as improvements and expansions in gas, water, power, wastewater, and road and transportation in order to sustain local development and lastly, meet the rapid demand of increasing housing growth within our subregion. And so it is really important to note that there may be some areas within our Yuba Sutter subregion where the focus on local projects may actually face more barriers and opportunities based on accessibility challenges, and attention on transportation access would actually be more important and impactful, improving connectivity to jobs. Turn it over now to the
All right, so for the potential industry aligned projects, we actually also did not include any specific projects that were submitted through the inventory form. Main reason being that we only had a few projects submitted for the entire sub-region, which again ties to just our challenges of getting the word out in the community about Celebrated Jobs First efforts. And so instead, we really hope to share our lessons learned through our community engagement processes that we hope can serve as key recommended actions for the next phase of this work. To draw focus and attention from community members and actually be able to submit industry-aligned projects. And so just a reading from the slide here, our lessons learned through community engagement included collaborative dialogue collaborative dialogue between project owners and industry leaders with impacted community members who are inhibited by power imbalances, differences in vocabulary, and vastly different priorities and lived experiences, which made honest conversations and representative meetings difficult. We also learned that effective engagement of disinvested communities and community stakeholders require a long-term and sustained commitment. So past outreach efforts did not contain ongoing community investment has created that distrust and limits voluntary participation. We also consistently can predict the needs of communities living in poverty, and our outreach and research consistently show that higher wages and other economic supports are essential to lift community members out of poverty. And so while we looked at these lessons learned, we also wanted to provide recommendations for the next phase. And so we recommend that conversations should be facilitated and designed to recognize the power imbalance of participants and bridge gaps through trusted partners, while continuing to hold direct conversations in protected spaces and really foster genuine collaboration. We Prosper Together must continue investing in outreach to disinvested communities and stakeholders, building long-term plans that respond to their input and needs, and placing incentives for power holders to engage in equity conversations. And lastly, we feel that efforts should focus more on conversing with project owners and industry leaders to understand why these needs haven't been traditionally met. And so now I'll pass it to Daniela for our next section on inclusionary pathways.
Thank you. Okay, so we came up with 5 inclusionary strategies. So these came from all of our outreach efforts and summarize what we feel the community needs. The first is raising the minimum wage. Every single person we spoke to talked about being paid more, needing more money in order to in the economy. So we felt that we needed to emphasize the need for that financial stability. We also focused on equitable workers' rights outreach. So the need to talk to workers about their ability to assert their rights, both to collectively bargain and for the minimum workplace protections that are already provided in the workplace. We were not surprised because this is what we do every day, but we heard from most of the workers that they had never been told about their right to paid sick days, California Family Rights Act leave, or paid family leave, all of which are accessible to low-wage workers regardless of immigration status, and for most employers. For them to have those basic benefits, they need to know about those and be able to assert their rights in their place of employment. And then, as I touched on earlier, the regulation of the labor contractors, not having the intermediary between the employer and the low-wage worker workforce, so that those workers can directly bargain with their employer about promotions and terms and conditions of employment.
And I'll be speaking on the last 2 of our 5 strategies. So what you see here are in-house local leadership and training programs, as well as education and skill development. They really do speak to each other. That's why they're here on the page together, where the left has more emphasis on the job and project owner and employer responsibility, whereas the right side has opportunities to support our educational institution pillars in the community. So these strategies strongly rely on project owners and employers to offer robust services to meet the needs of workers and fill that gap to support upward mobility opportunities, skill building and education. Training and leadership development opportunities should be available in-house to showcase opportunities to workers to get that high quality employment through their current roles, and that can help support employee retention and mitigate the needs to search for advancement in other places. And effective strategies to support education and skill building there on the right should also address qualification gaps and quality jobs. So for one part of this, project owner and employer resources should also work to eliminate language barriers, which may overshadow significant skills and knowledge, and that can be supported through interpretive services. Educational institutions such as Yuba College, who's in the house today, and local trade programs are the pillars to linking students to promising and quality jobs in the center. So continued support and collaboration with these folks and education leaders can help ensure that their programs meet both the interests of the community intersected with the identified opportunity industries that are consistently available or growing. And so additionally, a focus should be also placed on opportunities to bridge degrees that were received internationally to qualify a person for an opportunity job in Yuba Center who may be new here or recently completed. So turning it over to Matthew.
And so in summary, the identified barriers and challenges in our subregion continue to lead to instability and limits upward mobility, which impacts a person's ability to meet their basic needs. A project should prioritize enhancing local entry-level opportunities, providing on-the-job education to address equity barriers, ensuring that employees meet basic financial needs and grow within their industry, and that work locations mitigate transportation time and environmental costs. Projects that should focus on investment in infrastructure improvement, prioritizing local serving job opportunities, and diversity of business ownership in the subregion. Employers hold the card to create high-quality jobs and mitigate the environmental impacts of their business. And lastly, community members are already aware of their inequities and limitations in front of them, but endure these challenges to have jobs. And with that, back to Christina.
So that is the end of our presentation. We would love to stay in touch with all of you, whether you're within our sub-region or our regional partner, to learn from one another. For both Leadership Council and Regional Partners, welcome to contact me. It looks like the Sunrise blocked my name and my email, but it says pzang@civicred.org, and you have the roster in your folder. You can absolutely stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth Better. You all will be getting all of the presentations that you saw today, and you will have all see questions starting about them. I can tell you now, you're gonna get them all. Any questions or comments for you, Beth Better? Okay,
I
thank you.
thought Daniel and Irvin did a good job of laying out labor piece.
Got a compliment on the labor. We celebrate all of the sub-region hubs, all of their, a lot of work into them. You couldn't be here today. A really big thanks to all of them. We are going to move into now your activity. In doing that, could everyone stand up? We aren't going to move you, so just stand up. Plus you need to stand. While you're doing your stretch, my partner Bill is going to walk you through the instructions so that you can move yourself towards your table.
Great. So we could quickly, just a quick stretch up movement is important. So as you stretch up, look around the room, you see tables that have little table tents that read Leadership Council. We imagine our Leadership Council members are already seated at one of those tables. We now invite our sub-regional hub partners, those that will remain with us for the remainder of our convening today, to join one of those Leadership Council tables. We'll give you a moment to find space to join one of those round tables where there's empty chairs, where you see a Leadership Council tent. If you're members of our sub-regional hubs and you're going to continue to join us in the space for the remainder of our time, we invite you to join one of the round tables with the Leadership Council tent. And then once you do, we invite you to go ahead and join your full table groups.
And feel free to merge with the tables so you can have more people, more voices.
No, that is on me as in. On you.
Great, yes, please do move your chairs around. We know, we